Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
So
Go
would
ahead.
you like to just say a few introductory words as we started recording now? Again.
Again. So basically, like to thank everybody once again for joining us. We are 97 participants strong, and we might be having a few more people join us. This is an event being held by the the Caribbean Network Coalition of Montreal, which is comprised of 7 Caribbean islands in Montreal. And you'll be hearing more about the history of this collaboration through the ideas that came out from the president of the Jamaica Association, as well as our treasurer from the Barbados House Association. So with that said, we do have a little bit of housekeeping we want to do. We want to have an introduction of the current presidents that are going to be with us today, starting with the Antigua and Barbuda. So we have Jolene Barrington.
Jolene, can you say a few words? Is Jolene here as yet? So what we can do probably.
I believe she was on.
She's on mute. They're saying all on mute. So we got to unmute yourselves, please. Thank you, Mark. You can unmute. Okay, so Chris, if you can unmute.
I just fixed that. They can unmute themselves now.
You can unmute. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, that
So
was
Julie,
you can unmute. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy to have you all here. Happy to have friends and family join in from all over Canada, as well as the States and Antigua and Barbuda. We have some people joining from there, and we're happy to have you all. I hope you all enjoy the program. Thank you.
Thank you. And myself, Cynthia Waite from the Barbados House Montreal Association. Very happy to be here and joining such a solid group of people. Very, very happy. Next up, we have Dominica.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Maitland-Blades, and I'm pleased to be here with all of you, and especially our guest from Ontario. We have Justice Irving Andre, and we also have Francine Harris, and also all the other Dominicans in Ontario and Montreal who's joined us. Appreciate it. I thank you.
And Nicole.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole Swan, the president of the National Association of Montreal. I'm happy to be here with every one of you. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the program. Happy to represent all Grenadians from Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Thank you.
And Liebert.
I'm very delighted to be here. My name is Liebert Sanko, and I'm the president of the Guyana Cultural Association. And I've been there for quite a while now. I think they're still giving me a chance to get it right. They haven't changed me yet. But I must say that I'm delighted to be here today. As you know, usually Guyana has a strong Black History Week presentation, and we choose to join the coalition because we think it's the right thing to do. I'd like to welcome all those who are listening in today. And I hope when you leave here today, you leave with some education and some fortification of your spirit, that Black history is our history and everybody's history. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mark.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here today. First, I want to congratulate Cynthia on the new elected position as the president of Barbados House, and also thank Nigel Clark, the former president, who's been president for many years, part of how this thing all got started. Welcome, everyone. Excited to be here. Looking forward to kind of talking about how the coalition came about. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jack.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Alfred Jack Deere from St. Vincent and the Grenadines Association. I want to welcome all of you and hope that you enjoy this program. And it should be very enlightening for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So as we mentioned, we are a really solid group. And to talk about the Caribbean Coalition and some of its members, we have Nigel Clark, who is the treasurer right now of the Barbados House Association, as well as Mark Henry, the president of the Jamaica Association, to talk to you about the coalition.
Good evening. Thank you, Cynthia. What a great event and a pleasure to be here. I see that we didn't get Sharon to introduce herself, but we should. So I'm going to ask Sharon to introduce herself before I speak, because we know she is actually the knitting part and you to keep this coalition. So I'm going to ask Sharon to introduce herself before I speak.
Okay, thank you so much, Nigel. Yes, I'm Sharon Nelson. I am the first vice president of the Jamaica Association of Montreal, and it is a pleasure to work with so many great people on the coalition and to connect with the members within the coalition. So thank you so much, Nigel. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. Mark will speak after, but this coalition came about while we were on a cruise for my wife's birthday, and Mark and I sat down, and the leadership of Mark made this happen, because when we spoke about it, we just thought it was an idea. Then Mark pushed me and got me, let's get in contact with these associations. Give me the numbers, give me the email addresses, I will contact them. So the force behind all of this was really Mark, because he had a vision along with myself. I sat on other coalition before with the past president, Noel Alexander, and so Dan Phillips, and I saw where we went wrong. And I kept that in focus, that we will not create a coalition where we're going to have any power struggle. We don't want anyone to be the leader. We don't want anyone to say, I'm in charge. So the concept came about that we're going to have this coalition and each president will chair a meeting. So we're not political. We're going to support the groups that's out there speaking on the behalf of the Black community. And we know we had experienced President Liebert as well as Jack there, all experienced. So we know when we come to the table, there's no one looking for power. Everyone is looking to work together as a group. And we actually created off the CARICOM system, which we will try to get all the Caribbean islands together. So far, we still have some Caribbean islands that still, we are trying to reach them and make them be a part of this organization. But it's a great start, and I must give a lot of credit Mark, because it was a part of his mandate to let us get this going, and he opened the association, the facility of Jamaica Association, to the organization that we could meet. So I'll pass it on to Mark to continue with the vision and how it all came about.
Great, thanks, Nigel. Actually, you know, when I was elected as a president of Jamaica Association, kind of had a vision and looked at where we were as an organization and as a community. And through the issues we saw with the some of the unfortunate killing of Black men throughout, it created a movement where we understood that we were stronger as a community, as a group, than we were individual. But that was kind of the original thought. But when we looked at overall, and especially in the Montreal area, recognized that there was a need for us to come together, that we're stronger as a group than as an individual. One of the things that was unique that I realized is that we can identify with more things than we separate. We're more alike than we are different. And as I've said to the coalition, the only thing that I think separates us is just the flag and the place that we were born. We pretty much eat the same food. We just cook it a little different way. And we all have a message how we kind of go through with our music and our song. So that the thought behind the coalition is for us to come together, not just in Montreal, but right across the diaspora, especially many of us who've been away from our own islands for so many years. We recognize that we're stronger as a group. And I want to thank all the presidents. We know this is not a new idea. And it's, as Nigel rightly said, it was something that's been tried before. But we had a resolve. And I want to thank also our honorary council, George Grant, who was part of that first meeting, and part of it also, as with Nigel, some of those earlier attempts to form a coalition. I'm really, really thankful that all the presidents, from Liebert to Jack to Nicole, all the presidents, when we reached out to them, no one was against it, everybody. And by the way, Nigel, we did contact everyone. We just haven't had all the response. Trinidad, I know we got on the last meeting. He said, what happened to Trinidad? Well, we did contact Trinidad, and we had a couple of people sitting at the beginning, but the attempts will continue to try to get everyone together. So I want to thank all the presidents for coming together. Couldn't have done it without you guys. As Nigel said, we sat in a cruise, we thought about it. Nigel was the one, even though the idea came and we talked about it, was more the one who kind of had the contacts, the relationship. I depended on those, and because he's a respected member of the community, when he reached out, or used his name, because I was kind of new back into the community on a different side, using Nigel's name, all the presidents, and of course, want to honor our former president, Mr. Noel Alexander, who, through his strength and his reputation, had also kind of, made the Jamaica Association a place where everyone kind of had a relationship with. So when I thank all the president, it's exciting to see where we've come from 2 years. I'm sure when we started out, many thought that would just be another failed attempt. But I think Nigel and all the presidents, I think we've proven wrong. And the greatest thing I want to say before I kind of end this, it's for those who are not on the inside, the coalition has become a strong force, both internally in meetings, how it functions, how we share resources, share thoughts, how we share ideas. We're equal partners in this coalition. And I strongly believe we're not forming this coalition for today, but for the next generations and the second generation, the third generations to come, so that those of Caribbean descent will have a place to come and be a part of. So thank you once again, and looking forward to this event. Have a good day.
Thank you both, Nigel and Mark. That was great. And it's whenever we have an event, we always like to talk about the genesis of this. It never gets old. It's always nice to know that you were both on a cruise and you sat back, probably the margarita, you left that probably out, and while talking and creating. I mean, you were so far away, but you were still thinking about the Montreal community and the Montreal Caribbean community, and more specifically, so the Montreal English-speaking Black community. So we have to always say thank you for the efforts that you put in and the contacts that you've made. So with that, Cynthia, I think we're moving on to our next session, which is next section of the event, which is, we're going to get to the juice soon, but this is the juicy part too. We have some important individuals on the line. They represent us and our countries at an international level, and I should say national and international level. So I would like to, Cynthia, I'd turn the floor over to you, and then we will introduce our invited guests or special guests or honorary councils or high commissioners, I should say, honorary councils and other delegates.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. And we're pleased to start off with our High Commissioner Clark from Barbados.
And let me read the bio. This is how it's going to work. So Cynthia's going to introduce you, and then I'll read the bio. So High Commissioner Glenn Clark is a seasoned parliamentarian, trained teacher, and businessman hailing from Newbury, St. George. He graduated from the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill in '74 with a degree in social science and political science with history. High Commissioner Clark began teaching in 1970. He served as Vice Consul and Liaison Officer at the Barbados High Commission in Canada from 83 to 87. In 84, he became a founding member and first president of the Barbados Overseas Community Canada, Inc., the organization dedicated to promoting the heritage of Barbadians living abroad while supporting their adoptive home, Canada. On his return to Barbados in 1990, he assumed the position of executive assistant to the then leader of the opposition, Sir Henry Ford. He worked with Mr. Ford from 91 to 93, and then the leader of the opposition, former Prime Minister Owen Arthur, from 93 to 94. In 94, he was first elected to Parliament. Mr. Clark served as parliamentary secretary in the House Ministry of Housing and Public Works. On being elected in 99, he served as Minister of Housing and Lands until 2003, and then as Minister of Public Works and Transport from 2003 to 8. Mr. Clark was re-elected to the Barbados House of Assembly in the February 21, 2013 general election. He retained his seat in the May 24, 2018 election and will serve as the deputy speaker in the 2018 to 2023 Parliament. However, currently, he is the High Commissioner for Barbados in Canada and is located in Ottawa. Personal, and this is great because this ties into the hero we'll be talking about for Barbados, where Mr. Clark played cricket. For the Derbyshire team, and is also active in competitive dominoes. So I will say this is an official invitation from the Jamaica Association. Whenever you're in town, come and play dominoes with us because Jamaicans think that they're best at it.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for your introduction, Sharon. Good evening to all, Nigel, Cynthia. Good evening to the coalition. I must say, I want to thank you for inviting me this afternoon just to say a few words, because I think that unity is strength, and I'm glad to see that the coalition of Caribbean people is important, and I'll tell you why. When I was asked to speak to a group a couple months ago, I went through the statistics of Blacks in Canada, and I realized that even though we were here so long, Blacks in Canada and the total Blacks only account for 3.5% of the total population. 3.2% is not too big. In the Caribbean, we are big, but we are very minor in Canada. And therefore, I think coming together is the best thing any organization could do. And I want to salute those persons who have joined together and who continue to make the association strong. And I like the idea that you have adopted, that everybody is equal. And I wish that was the case when we started the British Federation way back in 1958. In 1958, the way it failed, because some people felt some were small islands and some were too big. So that was the failure of the British Caribbean. And you have learned your lesson, that the lessons of everybody being a chair at some time. And I think that goes well. And that's the same model that we practice in the CARICOM. And I think it is working. I also wish other associations across Canada can do likewise. Because, you know, when we look at in Barbados, we have so many schools in Toronto, former schools, and everybody have their own association. And, you know, sometimes you can have a function for Barbados and you go to about 20 functions within the same month, and it makes no sense. So I hope that everybody can look at your model and can work on it. I also want to tell you that the Caribbean is doing pretty well at this point in time. We just came out of a pandemic, but we are trying our best to ensure that persons everywhere get the vaccine and get the booster. I think that is the biggest problem that we are having. But coming out of this COVID pandemic, I want to say to you that you have to be able to inform your family back home, inform your friends back home that this is important, especially if we are supposed to encourage tourism, and most of our islands depend on tourism. Most of our islands depend on persons coming here to work. Most of our islands depend on goods coming here, and we have to be able to push our program here. I also want to take this opportunity. I know you're celebrating heroes, but I think we have so many heroes in the Caribbean. We have people who have done exceptionally well through coming after slavery. And of course, as you pointed out, sometimes that we have a similar history. We share the same foods, we same type of food. And, you know, when we look at what we have gone through, the Negro people have gone through a lot. And as I think it was the president of the Jamaican Association who said that music, everybody loved the Jamaican music, everybody loved the Trinidadian music, everybody loved Caribbean music, soca. And I think we have a similar taste for music. We have a similar taste for food and so on. And therefore, I believe that all of us celebrate our national heroes in various ways. I am sure that everybody knows about Garfield Sobers as a hero of Barbados. He's celebrated throughout the Caribbean. So too is people like Clive Lloyd and Michael Manley. We also celebrate Brian Lara, a great creator, the Richards, and of course we celebrate people like Marcus Garvey, and we are trying our best to ensure that Marcus Garvey becomes one of our heroes, not only in the Caribbean but through the Black world. I also want to say to you that I would appreciate one day to come to Montreal and play dominoes. I want to play dominoes. I like it badly. And of course, I have to warn the Jamaicans that they're not going to thief on us. You know, the Jamaicans love to, when they talk about dominoes, there's a little thieving going on. So we want to encourage them that we want everybody to be above board. So I am a fan of cricket. I'm a very good fan of cricket, a very fan of dominoes, and of course also volleyball. So those are my sports. So I want to thank you. You're doing a good thing. Anything that I can come, if you're in Ottawa, anytime let me know. I can have a game as well. So keep in touch. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like a competition is on the table. That's what it sounds like to us.
Of course. Listen to me. I came here, since I came here, I shared 2 6 loves a couple of Saturday nights ago. Who came to challenge me?
Thank you. Hi, Commissioner Clark. It was a pleasure hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia. Oh, you're muted.
I will have to learn how to play dominoes because I have never played. So I am looking forward to this. So with that said, I would like to introduce our next speaker, which is Justice Irving Arnold from Dominica.
You met Andre. Justice Dr.
Yes.
Irving Andre. And
Yes.
let me just spotlight you. Let me find I will find you and then I will spotlight you. So because we are 100 and there you are. Woo! There you are. Let me just spotlight you again. There you go. We're at 98 and people are coming in and going. So let me read your bio as I did with High Commissioner Klein. So in 78, Justice Andre won a US-8 scholarship to study at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica. He read English, history, and philosophy at the Mona campus, and in 81, graduated with a first-class honors degree and a gold medal for the best overall performance in the university's Faculty of Arts. After a brief stint of teaching at the St. Mary's Academy in Dominica, Justice Andre won a scholarship to do a doctorate in history at John Hopkins University. He attended the university for 2 years, but migrated to Canada before completing his studies. 1 year after arriving in Canada, Justice Andre attended the Osgoode Law School at York University. He graduated 3 years later after winning academic prizes in labor and immigration law. One of his essays entitled The Genesis and Persistence of the Caribbean Agriculture Worker Program in Canada was published in the 1990 edition of the Osgoode Hall Law Journal. He articled at the Ontario Ministry of Labour, and upon successful completion of his bar examinations, was called to the Ontario Bar in 1990. So between 90 and 2002, Justice Andre later worked as a prosecutor for the Ontario Ministry of Labour, an assistant Crown Attorney in Brampton, a criminal defense lawyer, and a vice president of the Ontario Licensed Appeal Tribunal. In 2002, he was appointed a judge in the Ontario Court of Justice, where he presided as the local administrative judge in the region of Peel from 2010 to 12. He earned a master's degree in law in 2006 and a doctorate in law in 2010. In 2012, Justice Andre was appointed to the Superior Court of Justice in Brampton, where he currently presides. Justice Andre has received numerous community awards, including the Dominica Distinction Award, the Black History Makers Award, the YMCA Angel Award, the African Canadian Achievement Award, the Queen's Golden Jubilee, and the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, the University of the West Indies Vice Chancellor Award, and the 2012 Harry Jerome Legacy Award, and in 2018, one of the 7 graduates chosen for each decade of UWI's 70th year history. Justice Andre has also written a number of books, including A Century of Dominican Cricket, Strangers. There are a number of titles here, and I'm sure that you will be telling us a little bit about your books. Justice Andre is married and has 2 daughters. Welcome, Justice Andre.
Thank you very much for your generous introduction. Let me thank the Caribbean Network Coalition of Montreal for the wonderful work you're doing. Obviously, you stand on the shoulders of a number of organizations in Montreal who've sought to make it a little easier for persons of not only African, but West Indian heritage. You may remember, or you may know, that the first branch of the Ku Klux Klan was founded in Montreal on about 1921. You may also know that the Garveyite movement probably manifested itself in as great a manner in Montreal. And since then, there's been a number of organizations that have sought to address or seek redress for racial inequality. Indeed, there has been a myopia in Montreal insofar as racial inequality is concerned. One of your leaders in the early 60s, when asked about racial discrimination, he said, well, there is the Bible, so what else do we need? And it is within this context that you have one of Dominica's heroes, Rosie Douglas, assuming prominence in the 60s. Rosie came to Canada in a very auspicious fashion. He came after calling Diefenbaker to express difficulty in coming to Canada, and suffice it to say, within 2 weeks of the call, he was on a plane to Canada. He was met by a minister of government. And it is a measure of the type of person Rosie was, that there he was. How many immigrants to Canada can you think of who arrive in Canada to be met by a minister of government and to be taken to what became known as the University of Guelph? Suffice it to say that he was mentored by Diefenbaker, but it is a rejection, it is a reflection, I should say, of the type of man this person was. And Rosie was from a wealthy background, I should say. That Rosie turned his back on the promise of what would have been a middle-class life in Canada, perhaps becoming a lawyer, perhaps becoming a member of parliament in 1968, an honor which was reserved for Honor Lincoln Alexander. And he gravitated towards the civil rights movement in the late 1960s, precipitated obviously by the movement in the United States, precipitated by the death of Martin Luther King, precipitated by the death of Malcolm X. And with other West Indians, such as Alfie Roberts from St. Vincent, such as the Haitian intellectual Dr. Theo Elder, he founded the 1968, October, I should say, Black Writers Conference, the largest gathering of Black intellectuals anywhere in the world, included among whom were Dr. Walter Rodney, Lloyd Best, the economist from Trinidad, Stockley Carmichael was there, Leroy Jones from Halifax, and a host of others. And they served notice that this generation of West Indians will not passively sit by and allow for things to happen in a very incremental or gradualist fashion. And after that tournament, after that conference, you would know, or you will realize that in February of '69, there was the incident at the Sir George Williams University, precipitated by 6 West Indian students who decided to break the silence when they were given failing grades by a biology professor. And suffice it to say that the whole movement ended in a conflagration at the university's computer center. 3 persons were signaled or identified as those who would be the ritualistic scapegoat for the burning of the computer. None of the students were implicated in the fire, mind you. None of them were implicated in the destruction of the property. But Rosie Douglas, Ann Cools, yes, former Senator Ann Cools, and African-Canadian Brenda Dash were prosecuted in April of 1971. Rosie received the harshest penalty, that of 2 years less a day. He served approximately 18 months in custody. After being released, he went back to Toronto and he was very much involved in the movement for equality, working with a number of associations in Toronto. I should indicate that the state issued a security certificate for him in 1973 to ensure that he would be deported from Canada as a reprobate, as someone who's undesirable. And he left Canada on about April 1976. He went to Dominica. He became very much involved in the international struggle for the liberation of Africa. He became the head of the Libyan-funded Mathaba. In that capacity, he persuaded Gaddafi to fund the ANC. He was involved intimately with the Irish Republican Army. He was involved in a number of movements in the various West Indian islands, from Trinidad to Jamaica. He established links with Cuba. And in 2000, he became Dominica's prime minister. And as we all know, and sadly, he died 9 months after. But Rosie is the epitome of the type of leader that we need in the Caribbean. Totally selfless, no desire for self-aggrandizement, armed with a vision of unity and equality and upliftment and development of the West Indies and of the West Indian people. Thinking just as this association is thinking, that no one entity, no one individual, no one island is greater than the others. And so we stand at this juncture, quite frankly, looking at the future, in my view, with optimism. Because in the wake of Rosie's vision, in the wake of his activities, we have a new generation, a new crop of leaders who've taken the mantle of equality, who've taken up the mantle of pushing the agenda for equality, and who've taken up the mantle of garnering and encouraging and ensuring the upliftment of West Indian or African people wherever they are, but most concretely right here in the city of Montreal. So I thank you once again, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justice Andre. Thank you for this enlightening information on Rosie Douglas. And a friend of mine many years ago, he was in computer science, and a little known history about this computer affair and backups. You know, everybody knows about backing up, and sometimes, and in more recent times, computers back up by themselves. How, you know, when we have a Word document, but let it be known that because of what happened on the 9th floor, and because of the information that was lost, what computer companies learned around the world is that backups must be made. Because they had punch cards at that time. Those big machines were just punch card machines. Yeah. So the backup was born on the same day that those computers were burned. Thank you so much for your insight and information. Cynthia.
Thank you very much. So next we have the Acting High Commissioner of Guyana, Cindy Saunders.
And I would like to spotlight, yes, Mrs. Saunders, High Commissioner Saunders.
Good afternoon, everyone. You can hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your warm words and your warm invitation. So I wish to acknowledge in our audience other excellencies from the CARICOM Heads of Mission here in Ottawa, all the dignitaries and officials, I wish to also acknowledge the executives and members of the Caribbean Coalition Network of Montreal, as well as the executive and members of the 7 Caribbean country diaspora associations and other special invitees. Good afternoon all. It is my distinct honor to join in your celebrations today to observe Black History Month, as we give due recognition to the legacy of those countrymen and countrywomen who have paved the way for us. It is also a time for us to reflect on the existing ills of society in the forms of racism and discrimination, and what we can do to address these very ills, either individually or as a collective. It is therefore my privilege to present my dear land of Guyana at this event, and to, well, as Commissioner Clara said, there's so many heroes to talk about. You know, for Guyana, we could reference Coffee, who led the revolt in Barbados, you know, to fight against the ills of slavery. I can also speak about the workers, the Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow, and the contributions he made to fighting for workers' rights. But today I will focus my presentation on someone who has really paved the way for persons of my generation and who I have been honored to witness her contributions to society. I speak of the Honorable Madam Justice Desiree Bernard. Born in Guyana in 1939, she is indeed a trailblazing Guyanese woman, recognized for her stellar contributions and extensive career in the judicial system, but also made valuable contribution in the areas of women and gender equality, consumerism, religion, education, and youth empowerment. She began her legal career in 1963 after she attained her bachelor's degree in law from the University of London, and she later became known as the Lady of First. When I say that, I mean, between the period of 1976 to 2005, she became the first president, the first female president of the Organization of Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Association, the first female judge in the High Court of the Supreme Court of Guyana, the first female Justice of Appeal in the Court of Appeal of the Supreme Court of Guyana, the first female Chancellor of the Anglican Diocese of Guyana, and the first female in the province of the West Indies. She also became the first female Justice of Guyana and in the Commonwealth Caribbean. And more recently, in 2005, she became the first female judge of the Caribbean Court of Justice. A true trailblazing woman, cementing herself as one of those to be remembered for generations to come, as one of the female pioneers who thrived in a traditionally male-dominated profession. And if we are to look around in the Caribbean today, we would see that there are so many female attorneys on the board, to the board. Thank you for paving the way, Madam Justice. But as I alluded to earlier, Madam Justice didn't only leave a mark in the legal fraternity, she became an ardent worker for women and gender equality, a true inspiration and a role model for young professional women like myself, as she paved the way for women to take up a leadership role and to take up responsibilities in not only the judiciary, but other fields of work, in essence, to improve the overall status of women in society. During her illustrious career, she has held a lot of distinguished positions, and she has received so many awards. For example, in terms of the position she has held, she has been a member of the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, the International Association of Women Judges, the International Federation of Women Lawyers. Within the Caribbean, she has been a member of the Caribbean Council of Legal Education. She has been the president of the Organization of the Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Association. She is also a judge on the Inter-American Development Bank Administrative Tribunal. And she has also been appointed in 2014 on the Bermuda Court of Appeal. In terms of her honors and awards, Madam Justice, she has received the 2 national awards of Guyana, the 2nd and the 3rd highest, namely the Order of Roraima and the Cacique Crown of Honor. She has also received the University of Guyana Award for her achievement in law. At the CARICOM level, she received in 2005 the CARICOM Triennial Award for Women. At this time, I would wish to highlight to you one of our many words of advice to young women. She basically encouraged us to let excellence be our key, and that we should always perform to the best of our ability and not to cut corners, because that works wonders for success. These words resonate with me as a young woman and professional, and it should also resonate with us, including our men, because it is our men that also have mothers, daughters, and sisters who they would want to be successful persons in whichever field that they choose to pursue. To stand firm and to hold all those principles that Madam Justice Bernard would have held in high esteem as she journeyed through her career. So with those words, I wish to thank you for your kind attention and happy Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Her Excellency Cindy Sawyers. And I must apologize because I didn't get a chance to introduce you. And you talked about you talked about Justice Bernard and her fine achievements, and standing up for women's rights, which is a true importance and of true importance. I strongly believe in that. But you have also demonstrated this in the years of service that you have given to Guyana. For the last 17 years, you've had a distinguished career, serving as Foreign Trade Officer, as Director of Foreign Trade, but also as the First Secretary for the Embassy of Guyana in Belgium, and after that, Foreign Service Officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and you continue this role and up from 2019 to 2012 in Senior Foreign Service Officer 1, and now currently representing Guyana right here in Canada. So you have also demonstrated many of the qualities. I see when you presented that fervor that you had in speaking about Madam Justice, I see the fire in you too. So thank you so much for being a part of our presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So next up, we have Honorary Consul Theodore Blaise from Grenada. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will do the introduction first this time around. I got you all queued up to be spotlighted. So Honorary Consul Blaise, thank you for being here, as said by Cynthia. And I'll just read a short bio that I found on you. So Theodore Blaise works as the Vice President Operations at Conteneur Concern in Montreal, which is a manufacturing company with an estimated 20 employees that was founded in 1972. They're part of the operations teams within the operations department of their management level. They are part of the operations team within the operations department. Currently, he is and I think for a number of years now, I don't have the number of years, so I'm going to just use currently, Honorary Consul for Grenada at Montreal. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so very much. Good evening, everyone. And special good evening to my fellow colleagues in the diplomatic field in Canada. I appreciate the opportunity to greet you, the Caribbean Coalition Network of Montreal, as we celebrate Black History Month this month of February 2022, under the theme of February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day. we have come a long way and have achieved a momentum that is our driving force to continue pushing forward. Together, and only together, we must renew our pledge to stand together collectively to raise our voices in tandem and ensure that Black History Month is not only for the month of February, but for every month of the year. It is my hope that the safety protocols will soon reach an acceptable level to allow us to meet again in person. I miss you all. May we all remain blessed, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Cynthia,
you
the
so-
floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And now we would like to bring High Commissioner Sharon J. Miller from Jamaica.
Let me just spotlight. The floor is yours, Her Excellency.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Good evening, all. It is a pleasure to be here. I, of course, agree. I'm in accordance with what my other colleagues have said, especially High Commissioner Clark from Barbados. I would just like to say, High Commissioner, I was with you all the way, and especially your kind words on Marcus Garvey. But I guess we'll just have to part company on dominoes and your reflection on Jamaicans. Let's just say that. But it is a pleasure to be here, and I know that I want to shout out Sharon and Mark, especially given the fact that I learned yesterday that they were planning 2 back-to-back events. And so it really was a lot of work, but it is always good to see my Caribbean colleagues and to know the work that you are doing. And I thank you for it. I know that there will be a Jamaican hero spotlighted. And so I will end by saying congratulations on this event. And thank you very much for the invitation.
It is a pleasure to have you with us, High Commissioner Miller, and I must apologize because I did the exact thing. I forgot to read your bio. So let me do that right now. I apologize. And I have it right here, queued up and everything. So, High Commissioner Sharon J. Miller, an accomplished diplomat, has been a member of the Jamaican Foreign Service for many years. She has a wealth of knowledge and experience in bilateral and multilateral diplomacy, having served in various positions in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, as well as in other Jamaican diplomatic missions overseas. She was a member of several national committees dealing with economic development, environmental sustainability, and human rights, and as represented Jamaica in international conferences as head of delegation. She was also the lead negotiator for Jamaica for Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the ECAZU Agreement on Access to Information, Public Participation and Justice in Environmental Matters in Latin America and the Caribbean. Prior to being assigned to Canada, she was the ambassador of Jamaica to the Federative Republic of Brazil, with accreditation to 4 other South American countries. High Commissioner Miller is a graduate of the University of the West Indies and has postgraduate training in diplomacy, negotiation techniques, and development studies. Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome. So with that, Cynthia, as mentioned, what I'd like to do is to also welcome the, again, the elected officials that we do have on the line with us. So as mentioned earlier, we have Sonny Moroz, who is the city councillor for the Snowden district. Thank you, Sonny, for being here. We have Stephanie Valenzuela, who is the city councillor for the Darlington district, both in NDG and Côte-des-Neiges. As well, I see we have Fatima Diallo, who is the works at the federal level and is the representative for Alexandra Mendez. I should say the attaché for Alexandra Mendez, who is a member of parliament and represents the South Shore. So I want to thank everyone, all our participants for being here. And I think Nigel is up next. So Cynthia, the floor is yours.
Yes, so Nigel is up next, and Nigel will be explaining the objectives of today's event and just rolling us through to the next phase of this, this event for this evening. So Nigel, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you again, Cynthia and Sharon. The event came about when Sharon, Cynthia, and I met to discuss what we're going to be doing for Black History. And I mentioned that we have to be able to promote our Caribbean people. We are used to promoting North Americans, Canadians. So why not let's see about our people? And it all clicked with Sharon and Cynthia, and we started speaking of the heroes. And we know that the Caribbean has so many heroes, but we could not profile everyone. So we decided we're going to pick one. I mean, Barbados has 10, other Caribbean islands have 5 and 6. So if we had to profile all of them, we'd be here for the next 2 weeks because they all have so much a history that we can go on for this. Now, when we decided we're going to go and select one of the heroes, we thought that that's a good idea. But it doesn't end here because I know that most of us can go on the website and see the heroes and see their profile, but we cannot do all of this at this time because of time constraint. But it came over very well because when we presented to the coalition, not one person object. Everybody thought it was a fantastic idea, started chipping in the ideas. We had all the different presidents start saying, well, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, we had people say, let's group them by their title, if there was a revolution, if there was entertainment, if there was cricketers, so sports. So it take off, and then we start developing it as we go along with the support of the coalition, and this is the end result. But at the end of the day, it was an idea that was on paper, but then you need people to implement it, and where Cynthia and Sharon came in. And then all the work started, Miss Sharon just go like a machine, and Cynthia, and all of a sudden, our idea became a reality, and this is the end result. So great work, great support from the coalition that made this happen. And it was the same group, Sharon, Cynthia, myself, Mark, and his coalition that developed Emancipation Day. So we took a copy from that and said, well, let's look at our people. So going as a part of the coalition, we're going to be looking at Caribbean because that's our DNA. We know we live in North America. We're happy to be here. And we know we have some of the presidents that are Canadians, but we are going to focus on the Caribbean because that's the whole purpose of this organization. So emancipation, Black history, maybe during the year we come up with something else, but the focus is on our people. Because we get overlooked because we are a minority, and as well as we speak English. And so we get bypassed. So I'm grateful that we were able to promote this, and it's very successful. We have 100, and I'm sure we also have people on Facebook. But great presentation from Cynthia and Sharon. I always maintain that when my philosophy, give the job to the person that can get it done. Simple as that. And we give the job to Cynthia and Sharon. And that's the result. Thank you. And I'm sure that this is one that goes down in the book and history as a part of emancipation and Black history. So you can imagine next year what's going to happen. Thank you, ladies, and thank you all for attending this event.
Thank you so much, Nigel.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And with that, we have come to the part of the show what we're all waiting for. You've queued them up very nicely there, Nigel. Appreciate that. So, Cynthia, would you like to talk about how this is going to unfold?
So how this is going to happen is that we're going to have representatives from all the islands participating this evening, and they're going to be talking about their national hero for their country. So we're going to get started with the presentation, starting with Antigua and Barbuda. And speaking this evening for this country is going to be Julian Barrington and Cecilia Edwards.
Do we have Julian? Are you there? Cicely?
Yes, I'm here, Sharon.
Okay, I need to spotlight you. I need to find you and then to spotlight you. Oh, okay. Here you are. There you go. And Cicely, are you there?
I'm just checking. I believe she is on. Let me just check.
No, I'm here, but I told, hello?
Yes, can
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm here, but anyway, I'll stick around in case Julie need me, but I'm not feeling well, so I will just stick around in case she needs some assistance.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Hope you're feeling better.
Okay, thanks.
So Julene.
Yes.
You are up.
Okay, I have my slides, so I'm gonna go through them. I see you have some names there. Okay, so we'll start with, hi everyone, welcome. Sir Vere Cornwall Bird, who was a politician. He was our first prime minister, and he was also responsible for independence from the British. Prince Claas is a revolutionary. He was fighting to end slavery, but he was sentenced to death by the notorious bone-breaking wheel. Dame Georgina Nellie Robinson was an educator. She broke down color and class barriers, believing that all children should have access to schooling. And on line this evening, we have none other, all the way from Antigua and Barbuda, Dame Bridget Harris, the first woman to serve in Parliament as Speaker of the House of Representatives. Welcome, Dame Bridget. Sir McLean Emmanuel, also known as King Shortshirt, Sir Rupert Philo, also known as the Mighty Swallow, and Sir Paul Richards, also known as King Abstinent. Those are some of our promising Calypsonians. And Sir Novell Hamilton Richards, appointed by the government of the Eastern Caribbean to be the first diplomatic trade commissioner in Canada. Now, our highlight is none other than Sir Vivian Alexander Richards, sports. He won 2 World Cups in 1974 and 1979 with the West Indian cricket team, known as the Master Blaster, and never lost any matches. He played with Sir Andy Roberts, Sir Kirkley Ambrose, and Sir Richie Richardson. These were some of his playmates. So, as we go on, Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards was born March 7th, 1952, St. John's, Antigua. At a young age, his brothers, Margaret and Donald, both played cricket, and they encouraged him to play. The young Vivian initially practiced with his father and Pat Evanson, a family friend. At age 18, he joined St. John's Cricket Club, and the owner, Darcy Williams, provided him with new white gloves, pad, and a bat. After a few seasons with St. John's Cricket Club, he joined the Rising Sun Cricket Club, where he remained until his departure to play abroad. In January of 1972, when he was 19, he made his first-class debut. He took part in a non-competitive match representing the Leeward Islands against the Windwards. His competitive debut followed a few days later, playing in the domestic West Indian shell for the combined Leeward and Windward Island in Kingston, Jamaica. By the time he was 22, he played matches in Antigua and Leeward Islands and combined island tournaments. His abilities were noticed by Len Cree, who was the vice chairman at Somerset. So Vivian relocated to the United Kingdom, where Cree arranged for him to play league cricket for Lansdowne Cricket Club in Bath. In April of '73, he finished his first season with top batting averages and was then offered a 2-year contract with them. Vivian then moved to Taunton in 1974 in preparation for his professional debut. And on April 27, 1974, he made his Benson and Hedge Cup. After the game, the skipper, Brian Close, arranged a player's ovation for Vivian in recognition of his playing and contribution to the victory. Vivian was awarded Man of the Match. Vivian made his test match debut for the West Indies cricket team in 1974 against India. He then made an unbeaten 192 in the second test of the same series in New Delhi. The West Indies saw him as a strong opener, and he kept his profile up in the early years of his promising career. In '75, Vivian helped the West Indies to win the inaugural Cricket World Cup final, a feat he later described as the most memorable of his career. The West Indies were again able to win the following World Cup in 1979. Vivian believed that on both occasions, despite inter-island divisions, the Caribbean came together. In 1976 was perhaps Vivian's finest year. He scored 1,710 runs. And this tally stood as the world record for the most test runs by a batsman in a single calendar year for the next 30 years. Vivian had a long and successful career in England, but Vivian refused a blank check offered to play for the rebel West Indian squad in South Africa during the apartheid era in 1983. From 1984 to 1991, he is the only West Indian captain never to lose a test series. And it is said that his fierce will to win contributed to this achievement. In 1994, Vivian Richards was appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire for service to cricket. In 1999, he was made a Knight Commander of the Order of the Nation by his native country, Antigua and Barbuda. In December 2002, he was chosen by Wisden as the greatest one-day international batsman who had played to that date. In 2006, he was upgraded to Antigua and Barbuda's highest knight of the Order of the National Hero. The Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in North Sound, Antigua, is named in his honor. It was built for use in the 2007 Cricket World Cup. In 2009, Sir Vivian Alexander Richards was inducted into the International Cricket Council Cricket Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we will open it up just for a few minutes. If anyone has any questions, if you would like to take yourself off of mute, and Julie will be here to answer any of your questions about Sir Vivian Richards. Don't be shy.
A pleasant good evening to everyone. My name is Simon Aline. I just wanted to say that the cricket in the Caribbean means so much to us as a people with regards to our cultural identity and even as a form of resistance against colonialism. And the fact that cricketers are seen, well, the best cricketers are seen as national heroes, not only in Barbados, but across the region, is testimony of the fact that the work in terms of lifting the profile and image of Black people across the world goes squarely on the shoulders of our cricketers. And we have seen how cricket has been able to transform the world. Right now, the West Indies is going through a bit of a challenge, the West Indies cricket team, but we are quite certain that they're going to get back on track. So I just want to say that was a wonderful presentation. I enjoyed it totally.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you very much.
And Simon, you come in at a very good time because
they're going off.
Cynthia.
Yes, and thank you, Jolene, for this presentation. It was fantastic. Thank you so much. So next up is Barbados. And representing Barbados is Simon Aline. But just before Simon starts, Sharon is going to tell you a little bit about Simon and what he does.
All right, thank you. Simon Aline is a former graduate teacher of the Combermere School. We had that planned with Robin Fenty, or otherwise known as Rihanna, singing Hero, right? How we thought about you. where he taught social studies, geography, sociology, and Caribbean studies. He's currently an independent disaster management consultant. He holds a BSc in political science with public sector management from UB Cape Hill, as well as an MSc in emergency planning and management from the University of Hertfordshire in England. I hope I said that correctly. Simon is also passionate about the arts and has performed in a number of productions. He is the producer of Cocktails and Comedy, and I hear there's a want to get you into North America, right here in Montreal, not only Toronto, please, which features upcoming comedians performing at select bars and restaurants. Simon is also a co-founder, or one of the co-founders of the comedic group Rum and Coke, which has toured Trinidad, St. Martin, Grenada, Toronto, Miami, and Atlanta. So welcome, Simon.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and a special good evening to everyone on the Zoom, all of the representing Caribbean organizations. It's so good to have you. All of the big especially, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to actually make your presence felt here. And it gives me great pleasure and a privilege to speak about my national hero, none other than the Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers. We are staying in the lane of cricket. All right, so Garfield St. Auburn Sobers was born on the 20th of July, 1936 to Shamont and Thelma Sobers of Walcott Avenue, Bayland, St. Michael, Bridgetown. and he was the fifth of 6 children. A very interesting fact is that at birth, he had 2 extra fingers, one on each hand, which he removed by himself during childhood with the aid of catgut and a sharp knife. Yes. Sobers was only 5 when his father died at sea in January 1942 after his ship was torpedoed by a German U-boat. Throughout his career, Sir Garfield Sobers has many great achievements and honors bestowed upon him. In 1969, Sir Garfield was the subject of much critique and adoration. He was one of the first cricketers to try to integrate apartheid countries into cricket and also help to coach Black youths. In another outstanding achievement for this local Bajan, Sir Garfield Sobers was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 1975 for his services to cricket, controversially presented at the Garrison Savannah in Barbados instead of being knighted at Buckingham Palace. In 2003, he was again presented another honor by being appointed an Officer of the Order of Australia, where he had played for many years first-class cricket matches. The list of Sobers' achievements really is endless. Some of the awards he won during his playing career are West Indies Cricketer of the Year, 1958 to 1959, the Wisden Cricketer of the Year, 1964, the Cricket Society Weatherall Award for the leading all-rounder in English first-class cricket in 1970, the Walter Lawrence Trophy winner in 1974, and the Wisden Cricketer of the Century in the year 2000. The International Cricket Council, ICC, even went as far as to introduce a Sir Garfield Sobers Trophy in 2004, which is awarded annually to the Player of the Year as selected by the ICC. In another big achievement for Sobers, in 2007, Wisden retrospectively selected the leading cricketer in the world for every year dating back to 1900, except 1915 to 18 and 1940 to 45. And Sir Garfield Sobers was selected for the title for 8 of those years. In 1966, his image was placed on a Barbados independence postage stamp as a sign of respect from his homeland. In 1998, by an act of parliament, Sobers was also publicly named as one of the 10, now 11, official national heroes of Barbados. A roundabout as well as a statue have also been built in his honor, and another nod to his respect to Sobers in Barbados is the Sir Garfield Sobers Sports Complex that was built and is the island's premier indoor multipurpose facility, conceived and designed as a venue for large sporting and cultural events. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Simon. It's great you're absolutely right, to learn a lot about what our heroes are doing in different areas. And it's not just cricket, right? He inspired a nation and the across the Caribbean.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Cynthia.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. Now, does anyone have any questions for Simon? We'll open up the floor again. So if you have to unmute yourself, please do.
I also forgot to mention that Sir Garfield Sobers holds the record for the most sixes in an over. He had scored 6 sixes in 1 over, and he had the record of 365 runs, which was subsequently broken by Brian Lara. So in terms of the proficiency with the bat, definitely Sir Garfield Sobers was able to do that. But more importantly, it speaks to the fact that cricket was seen as a means of social mobility for many Black persons in the Caribbean. And I think that the sense of national pride is very important. And even regionally, when we saw the West Indies team facing these giants, whether it was Australia or England and so on, it showed that as a region, we were strong and we were able to put some licks, as we call it, in our colonizers or former colonizers.
I just want to ask Simon a question, Cher.
Sure.
Yeah, Simon, I must say thanks for your presentation. I really enjoy because I'm a cricketer. I like cricket. I like the presentation that was made about my also hero, Vivian Richard. I think if there's one thing that has really united the Caribbean is cricket. Because we can go on and on and on and talk about the greatest achievements about cricketers across the Caribbean. One of my favorite cricketers is still Gail of Jamaica. And of course, Gail and so on. But I want to ask you the question, which was Sober's greatest innings? The 365 against Pakistan or the 254 against Australia? Which how do you classify them?
The 254 against Australia, because that's the one that made him really recognized by his counterparts. The Australian cricketers, the English cricketers had to recognize the genius and the ability of Sir Garfield Sobers. And the thing about it is that one of the things that a lot of people speak about is his ability to read the ball at the time of the release. Because Sobers knew already, he knew how the field was set up, and he was able to read the ball as the ball is delivered, whether it was spin or googly or slow ball. He was able to read the ball from the bowler and then play the shots that he selected.
Yes, I would also want to say that that innings was very important because he was bowled for 0 in the first innings. And then he came back, he said, look, I am not, because you see, one of the things that in that era, playing against white nations, Sobers and the West Indian at the time, Survivor, if you look at the innings of Surviv, especially in 1974, they realized that this was one of the things not only to unite the Caribbean, but also to ensure that they do not allow another race to get the better of them. And that was very important. And that innings of 254, I believe everybody should go and see it. Thank you.
Simon, I also have some information too pertaining to Sobers. I grew up in Dover as a Dover boy, and Sir Gary Sobers lived in Dover for years at Bryce May, right on the beach. And as a youngster, we used to call him Skipper. And when he drove in with his rover, we would stand and say, Skipper, you want your car washed? And he would drive in and give you the keys and go. And you don't look for any money, but when he comes out, he will look for you and say, yes, you're the guy that washed my car. Exactly. So I want to show you the man of himself as a hero, and a celebrity.
Good night to you, sir.
Also relate to the local brother and the local guys, because he has living in Dover, and we had Everton Weeks that was running Marsall up the street, because I'm a St. Lawrence guy, a Gap guy, and they always living close to each other. And you would see Gary Sobers come to the beach, and he would inspire the guys to play cricket. I mean, we played beach cricket, and he never let the guys know. He always willing to give the guys a tip on batting feeling. So what a great guy. And it's not only his hero and his celebrity, he always still relate to the small guy in the street. Great guy.
Definitely. And I think that one of the things that show the quality and the class of the gentleman is the fact that the Queen left Buckingham Palace, came to Barbados at the Garrison Savannah publicly in front of his own countrymen to knight Sir Garfield Sobers. And since then, it seems that the Governor Generals throughout the region have been knighting people, but the last person really, to my knowledge, to be knighted by the Queen Elizabeth II herself, would have been Sir Garfield Sobers. So that truly is an achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, Cynthia, I think we have to have a special event on cricket. There is you see the love when you start talking about these numbers. They don't mean anything to me, but I think we've got to. I want to learn now about cricket.
Yes. I agree. I second that motion.
I think that might be our next event. That might be our next event for sure.
Could be fantastic.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Simon, from Barbados. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
So next up, we have Dominica. And representing Dominica this evening is Anne Brunette Clark.
Thank you. I hope you could hear me.
We need to find you. We need to find you. Where are you? I'm going to spotlight you.
I'm sorry?
I was just trying to, is your video on? I don't see you on the video.
Yeah, I see her.
Okay. Can you spotlight her?
Yeah, but can you hear me?
I have her. Okay, you got spotlight. Thank you. But before you do, I would like to just say a few words. As you are, Anne Burnett Clark is currently the Dominica Island Cultural Association Secretary, and she has been in this role for quite some time, and as well with the association. So I want to say thank you so much for being here today and to speak about Dominica's Heroes.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm speaking on Miss Charles, Eugenia Charles, our first Prime Minister. Our distinguished career as lawyer, journalist, and politician. Miss Eugenia Charles was born in Dominica in the village of Point Michel on May 15, 1919. She died on September 6, 2005 at the age of 86. Then Eugenia Charles was the first female Prime Minister of Dominica, a post she held for 15 years. Ms. Charles was educated in Grenada, then went on to study law in Toronto. She continued her training in Britain at the London School of Economics and was called to the bar at the, at the inner, Temple, London, my voice, sorry. The first female lawyer in Dominica. She was the second female prime minister in the Caribbean after Lucina de Costa of the Netherlands Antilles. She was the first woman in the Americas to be elected in her own right as head of government. In 1975, she became leader of the opposition, which led her to the appointment of prime minister when the Dominica Freedom Party won the 1980 elections. In 1985 and 1990, she won 2 additional terms as prime minister before her party was defeated in 1995. Her entry into the Her entry into the political arena came in 1968, owing to the attempt of the Dominica Labour Party to have a Sedition Act passed. From then onward, she never looked back and confidently blazed the trail for what was to become a distinguished course of statesmanship. She was appointed to the, I'm sorry, I have trouble with my eyes, people. She was appointed to the legislature in 1990 and to the House of Assembly in 1975. She co-founded the Dominica Freedom Party in 1972 and became the leader of the opposition in 1975. Her involvement with her party helped the country relinquish colonial rule on 3rd November 1978. During her tenure, she improved the country's infrastructure and living standards. As Prime Minister, Ms. Eugenia Charles was instrumental in the introduction of programs aimed at economic reform. She was also the chairman of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. She later held the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs, Finance, and Economic Affairs. and defense, sorry. Her stand on the yes, it is. I'm sorry. Mary Eugenia Charles was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in Zimbabwe in 1991, a fitting tribute to her distinguished career as a lawyer, politician, and journalist. She retired from office in 1995 and very soon enrolled at the Johns Hopkins School of International Studies, where she studied the European Union, the United States of America, and Canada. An evaluation of her life of Dame Eugenia Charles reveals that she was herself lived up to her conception of sorry, just put on my light because I can't see. An evaluation of Dame Eugenia Charles reveals that to her, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm very sorry.
And
No
would you like-
worries.
Bill, take your time.
Take your time, Anne. I know you're not well, Anne. Take your time.
No worries.
Water.
An evaluation of the life of Dame Eugenia Charles reveals that she has herself lived up to her own conception of the qualities of a good leader. And this is, leaders must look after the things that they need looking after without looking after themselves. In February of 2003, the heads of government of the Caribbean community conferred upon her the Order of the Caribbean Community. I am very sorry. My eyes are not very, very good, and I apologize.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Anne, would you like me to continue?
It's all right. I skipped a bit, but I did it.
Okay, go ahead.
You can continue if you like, but
Kathleen, maybe you want to take over to give Anne
Okay.
maybe an opportunity to maybe get some water and.
Sure, Anne,
think-
please, yes.
Yes,
Anne, I thank you very much.
thank you, Anne.
Thank you,
all
Anne.
right.
Her involvement with the Dominica Freedom Party helped her country relinquish colonial rule on November 3rd, 78. During her tenure, she improved the country's infrastructure and living standard. Her stand on the regional integration movement can be determined from the following words taken from her address to the 8th heads of government meeting in Castries, St. Lucia in 1987. I am of the firm opinion that CARICOM must continue to exist, but it must exist for the purpose of improving the quality of life of all our people. If it does not succeed in doing this, then we must abandon it. We must emphasize that we are not in CARICOM merely to show that there is unity among us in the English-speaking Caribbean. No, we are in CARICOM because the unity it aims at achieving will bring benefits to all our people. Therefore, we must work hard at making CARICOM what it should be, what it was meant to be, and what in our dignified and formal speeches we say it is. Miss Charles had some famous quotes. You can't run a country and be soft. Men have the grand vision and they pass it on to somebody else to put it into practice. Women follow the details more. They want to know what it is being put into practice. She lived up to her own conception of the qualities of a good leader. And that is, leaders must take and look after their things that need looking after without making or looking after themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank
Cynthia?
you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kathleen.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Anne. Thank you, Anne.
Yes, and thank you, Anne, as well. Thank you, Caitlin, too. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the ladies?
Yes, I have a question and a comment.
Sure.
I am Rosanna Henry. I am really from Grenada, but I'm listening right now from Trinidad. I first of all want to compliment Anne Clark for her courage in spite of her challenges. She did an excellent job. But I want to ask a question, and either Anne can answer it or probably Kathleen. I have always admired Dame Eugenia Charles, but I've heard something about her today that I'd never heard before, and I want to get it cleared. Did Anne say that she was born in Grenada or she was educated there? What is the correct thing?
Educated, not born.
Oh, she was educated. Okay.
No.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm so happy to hear either way because I am from Grenada, and although I had known her for all those years and admire her, I never knew that. So it took my coming here this afternoon to know that she was educated there, and I'm very pleased and proud to know that she was educated on the island on which I was born, the Isle of Spice. Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you for your proud comment.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Nigel here, just a comment. When we look at Miss Charles, she was known as one of the island, one of the strong ladies of the Caribbean, because when you remember that the invasion of Grenada, it was the Prime Minister of Barbados and also the Prime Minister of Dominica that was the forefront in giving the okay to Reagan to stop the problem in Grenada. And I'm sure that Glenn would have testified that she's known as a tough lady in the Caribbean because she was one of the persons that dealt with the Prime Minister of Barbados, as I said, and other leaders to make sure to give Reagan the okay to go into Grenada to stop Cuba from invading Grenada. So we know her as a tough lady of the Caribbean, and that will go for that. She was one of the strong ladies because of being a female. She had to prove to the men that she also is just as strong as them. So it's a lot of courage, and she has a lot of leadership skills. And I know her, that my brother-in-law was a personal friend of hers, and he always speaks about her highly. And you would think that he was also a minister of Dominica. You heard me speak about her. Great job, Caitlin, and a great leader.
Okay, I thank you very much, Nigel, and you are indeed correct about the invasion of Grenada. Yes, she was instrumental in ensuring that Grenada was well taken care of. Thank you.
Okay, I also want to make a point, a comment here. I thought the presentation of Anne Clark was very well done, despite her challenges. I want to wish her all the best. I want to say that Eugenia Charles is well recognized across the Caribbean, not only as a good prime minister, a good worker, but she helped to cement a place for women within the Caribbean. She, as Nigel pointed out, she was really among all men, and she really stood up to them, and she put forward her points very succinctly and courageously. Nigel was right when he said that it was she, along with Tom Adams, appeared on, I think it was a show at the time in the US. I don't remember the correct show now.
60 minutes. The show was 60 minutes.
60 minutes, right. And it was there that she really invited Reagan to come, and he did come to Grenada, and that will stop the Cuban Revolution. And it was she who have helped to restore democracy in Grenada. And we must salute people like her who was very strong. And as a woman, she was not afraid. The other thing is, I want to say to her, to the group here, I admire Eugenia Charles because it's out of what she did is what helped people like me to remain in politics for 26 years. Because she always said to us, if you want to remain in politics, you have to work. You have to go to your constituency. And she stood out as a hard worker across the Caribbean. And we are recognizing her more and more in the Caribbean, because if you want to be in politics, you have to be prepared to go and work in your constituency and work long hours. I think I do recognize and appreciate the hard work of Eugenia Charles. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's so good to hear about these different heroes. And Cynthia, we have, I believe it was Guyana.
Guyana, yeah.
Guyana that is up next.
Yes, and representing Guyana this evening is William Critchlow. Is William on the call?
William.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. No, let's get rolling. When we started to prepare a list, we had a hard time deciding who we want to put on our list.
Wait, I think we're getting some background noise.
Yes.
Background noise.
I think you have two devices open. Can you close the other one?
Yes, and you know what? I believe I made a mistake. We skipped Grenada. And we moved to Guyana. I wanted to move. So perhaps we can take care of the devices, and then we will move to Grenada. Karikou and Christomati.
Yeah, and this is Vanessa Sandy. Vanessa, are you available right now? I don't know if it's me, but I'm getting some.
There's a bit of background noise. So perhaps what we can do is this. When the technical issues have been corrected, we can come back to Grenada and Guyana. But maybe what we can do is we can skip to Jamaica.
Yes.
And we can work through the
technical issues.
The technical issues. Would that be okay?
No problem. So actually we have Dr. Clive Forrester for Grenada. Are available.
Yes. Okay. We have Clive Forrester, and I will spotlight you. And oh, I have to unmute Miss Sandy. Mute Miss Sandy.
She is muted.
Okay.
She's frozen on my screen.
Okay.
Can we mute everyone?
I mean, remove spotlight for both. Here we go. Is that better?
That is much better.
Fantastic. So we'll come back to Grenada and Guyana. And we're very pleased to have Dr. Clive Forrester with us. And before I mess up again, let me just read your bio.
Well, Sharon, you don't have to, I'm Clive. I am representing the Caribbean Canadian Association of the Waterloo region. I'm a professor in the English department at the University of Waterloo. Boom. You don't need a more introduction than that. Right? So I'm going to talk about Marcus Garvey. And it's not the easiest thing to say something about Marcus Garvey that you can't easily find online, but I'll try to, as best I can, I guess, highlight some of the key issues with Marcus Garvey. So His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey was born at the tail end of the 19th century in 1887 in Jamaica, St. Anne, Jamaica, right? Same parish as Bob Marley as well. And, one of the key things with Marcus Garvey was that he was a Pan-Africanist before Pan-Africanism was really and truly a thing, right? So long before the civil rights movement of the 1960s, you had folks like Marcus Garvey who were championing the cause of Black liberation, right? His advocacy really and truly started in the 1920s, which was at the same time as the Harlem Renaissance in the United States. Now, while the Harlem Renaissance was a kind of rejuvenation in Black culture, art, folklore, music, theater, and so on, Garvey was particularly interested in three things, right? So here are Garvey's, I guess you could call him his three ideological tenets. So the first one was repatriation. So everybody associates that word with Marcus Garvey, repatriation, or going back to Africa. So for Marcus Garvey, he felt that the only way that Black persons in the global Black diaspora could receive any kind of true liberation and independence for themselves is if they moved back to their ancestral home, which is Africa. So Marcus Garvey would say that the white man has a nation, the Chinese man has his nation, the Indian man has a nation, but where's the nation for the Black person? So that was his first ideological tenet, repatriation, that Africa should be for the Africans. His second ideological tenet is that Black persons should have socioeconomic and political independence. So Garvey felt that all Black persons in the diaspora should champion their own kinds of commerce, their own kinds of industry, as well as their own political systems, their own political institutions, independent of what would have existed in our colonial past, right? Of course, Jamaica was still a colony at the time during Garvey's advocacy, but he felt that the kind of economic and political system that was predominant in industrial societies in Europe and North America would not serve the interests of Black persons who were largely still, colonies in the New World, but anywhere else, right? We needed our own industry, we needed our own system of politics. And his third ideological tenet was that Black persons should have intellectual and philosophical independence, right? He felt that, all of the ways that we think about, knowledge and beauty and progress were tied up in a Eurocentric paradigm. And he felt that as an important part of our liberation, we need to develop a kind of intellectual and philosophical paradigm indigenous to Black persons. So those were the three very important philosophical tenets of Marcus Garvey: repatriation, socioeconomic and political independence, and intellectual and philosophical independence. So three very important things. The other thing is probably important to mention about Marcus Garvey was that had Marcus Garvey been alive now with those views, most of us would think he's crazy, right? Going back to Africa. Who the hell going back to Africa, right? So the contemporaries of Marcus Garvey, people like W.E.B. Du Bois in the United States, legitimately thought that Marcus Garvey was out of his mind, like he was crazy, right? So when you see these pictures of Marcus Garvey in military regalia and having a procession with his members of the UNIA, which is the organization that he established, the United Negro Improvement Association. He would wear military regalia with this kind of feathered bonnet and, dressed like a soldier, and was declaring himself the provisional president of Africa. These guys in the United States are like, this Jamaican guy is mad, right? He don't have no sense. That is what they had legitimately thought of Marcus Garvey. But here's what caused that contention. So folks like W.E.B. Du Bois felt that my ancestors came to the United States and gave their life to build this country. It is now my time to ensure that I reap something from what my ancestors invested inside this country. So Black liberation and Black independence and Black revitalization for Marcus Garvey's contemporaries meant getting their rights acknowledged inside the place where they live now, in the United States and the United Kingdom. Marcus Garvey was like, no, you're not going to get the same level of respect living in the United States and living in the United Kingdom. We need to pack up ourselves and go back to Africa. And, you know, his own contemporaries at the time, W.E.B. Du Bois, before him, Frederick Douglass, people from the Harlem Renaissance, simply didn't see eye to eye with Marcus Garvey, and Marcus Garvey was not a very good collaborator. He wanted to be in charge, and it was either my way or the highway. I know what I'm doing, you don't know, right? We tried it your way, try it my way now, right? So he established the United Negro Improvement Association. He established the Black Star Line, shipping industry, which it was an economic enterprise that was kind of doomed to fail from the start because Marcus Garvey wasn't too business savvy, and the FBI were on his case. They were watching his every move, right? There were agents placed all over the place, looking at his business dealings very closely, and he was one of those persons that was selling stocks in the Black Star Line before it was even in existence. And that is actually what caused him to be deported from the United States. They call it mail fraud. You're selling something that don't really exist, but people do it all the time now. But back then they wanted to find any excuse to arrest him and deport him back to Jamaica. So a very complex character, Marcus Garvey. He's Jamaica's first national hero, actually, even though he's not the earliest one in terms of when he lived. He is the first national hero recognized by the government of Jamaica. Very instrumental in setting up the United Negro Improvement Association, which still exists now in the United States and in parts of the Caribbean. There is still a version of it in Jamaica. It's now called the Marcus Garvey Movement. And Marcus Garvey, his views were particularly instrumental in kind of shaping the philosophical front of Rastafari, right? It was actually Marcus Garvey who, in a speech, said that us Black people, we should look for the crowning of a Black king. And when that happens, we will know that our liberation is at hand. And he said that in 1920, and in 1933, Emperor Haile Selassie I was coronated as the emperor of Ethiopia. And Rastafari said, oh yeah, we know we have the proof, right? Here is the returning Messiah, as far as they were concerned. Complicated character. As I said, he was not a very good collaborator. I'm not sure how many of you have ever seen what he looks like. So his contemporaries would describe him as a short, fat, Black, big-nosed man. Literally, I'm telling you the truth, right? This is how some of the people would describe him. So he was not viewed very favorably. But he was a short guy, but when he spoke, he commanded the audience. He spoke with a kind of urgency all the time, almost as if he knew he didn't have a lot of time left, right? All of his speeches were in that same kind of oratorical vein, right? This urgency, as if, oh no, I'm running out of time. I don't have much time left. And it gripped the audience. And he's the kind of person that he would just get a box and stand up on the corner of a street in Harlem. And he would, get a really big crowd. But as I said, because of the way that his movement started, he was really way ahead of his time. People simply weren't ready for that discussion, this going back to Africa. Why are we going back to Africa? In many ways, I would say one of the downfalls was that at the time, anti-African sentiments were still very strong, right? Especially in the Caribbean, which is why his advocacy did not work in the Caribbean. It was really after he went to the United States that he kind of gained notoriety. But his advocacy didn't take off in Jamaica. It was when he went to the United States, because in Jamaica, Jamaican people were, quote unquote, all right. We were British citizens at the time in the 1920s. We're British citizens. At the time, the word motherland at that time meant England. And it was after, Garvey and through the cultural rejuvenation with the Rastafari that the word motherland came to be now associated with Africa. So it was really the Rastafari who did that. So complicated character, lots to learn about this guy. He has, well, he's not the author of this book, but I think it was either his wife, Jacques Garvey, who put together a compilation of his quotations called The Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. So it's like snippets from different speeches that he did. It's a good place to find out about Marcus Garvey in his own words. The stuff that you find online in Wikipedia and online encyclopedias, it's good. But to really learn about Marcus Garvey, it's important to also read his words as he said it at the time and understand the context under which he lived. So that's it.
You're right. A very complicated fella. And
Yeah.
it's also good to get almost a visual of what he looked like, because we never really see a picture of him from head to toe. We always see
that's true, right? You always see like his bust from like his head to here. So you might think he's like average height or maybe a tall guy because of what he managed to accomplish, but as W.E.B. Du Bois would have said, a short, black, fat man with a big nose, right? And an even bigger ego.
And W.E. Du Bois was controversial himself during the Harlem Renaissance. So,
Just one question, Doc. Did Garvey travel through the Caribbean at any point to promote his philosophy, or he just came from the United States back to Jamaica, and this way he promote most of his thinking?
Right. So he didn't really get a chance to tour the Caribbean in the sense that we talk about touring the Caribbean, right? So he started out in Jamaica and then went to the United States.
Yeah.
He did travel overseas afterwards, but it wasn't to the Caribbean, right? He went to parts of Europe. I want to say he went to parts of South America. I can't don't quote me on that one. But he didn't really spend extensive time in the Caribbean, like in parts of the British Caribbean, for instance, doing his advocacy. It really took off in the United States. And after he was deported from the United States, things started to fizzle out with his organization.
Which thing?
Some of the branches closed down, the UNIA, some of the branches closed down in the United States because there was this vacuum of leadership. A few branches still remain. The Marcus Garvey movement is still kind of strong in Jamaica. But, it wasn't, I would say that the real renaissance in Caribbean Black thought didn't happen until Walter Rodney, to tell you the truth, right? It was really Walter Rodney and his contemporaries who were the vocalists as it relates to Black liberation in the Caribbean, right? And of course, the different heads of states, the Michael Manley from Jamaica and those other persons who were, kind of championing the rights of poor people at the time. So it would have been Walter Rodney, the persons at that time, but nobody really didn't care about Marcus Garvey in the 20s, because as far as they were concerned, things was kind of all right in Jamaica. We were, after all, British citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Can I interject? Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Let me congratulate Dr. Clive for his excellent presentation. Just a couple observations. Marcus Garvey did visit some of the islands after he was incarcerated and deported, because he visited Dominica in 1937. I should indicate that in many of the islands, certainly in Dominica in the 20s, early 20s, you had a very strong Garveyite movement. In fact, the local Garveyite, the main fellow, was very much in touch with Marcus Garvey. In fact, there are communications between them, and we had sales of the news publication of UNEA, and some mass ceremonial gatherings in the early 20s and so on. Dr. Clive is correct that the West Indian middle class of the era had nothing to do with the philosophy of Marcus Garvey. In fact, they adored the color white in reverential terms, because the whole success was defined in terms of becoming anglicized, what was derisively known as the Afro-Saxons in the Caribbean. And I can tell you that the local Garveyite in Dominica, in Roseau, was fired from his job by a prominent lawyer called C.A. Rawle on account of his Garveyite philosophy. The African-American elite, led by Du Bois, had absolutely no use for Garvey. One of the reasons is pure jealousy. They could not command the kind of crowd that Garvey commanded with his fiery rhetoric. And they resented the fact that this so-called uneducated Black Negro could supersede them in terms of
with a big nose. This big nose immigrant come.
That's right. And Dr. Clive, one thing you omitted, but it's important, they wrote to the US government to deport Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
They were complicit in that thing.
A part of that, they were complicit because there was a kind of get Garvey out movement after he had a secret meeting with the head of the KKK at the time. Nobody knows exactly what happened in that meeting.
That's right.
It was a closed door meeting. And well, you see, here's the thing, because the kind of mode that W.E.B. Du Bois was operating in was a slow and steady kind of thing, we shall overcome. That was their kind of a method, right? We're building up to a very important thing that is going to happen in the United States. And Garvey was like, forget that. It will never happen. You will never enjoy any kind of equality in the United States. Forget it. We need to go back to Africa. And they were like, listen, Garvey, no bother with the foolishness. We can't deal with that right now. We have suffered too much in this country. We are going to get a piece of this pie right here.
Can I get in here?
I've been trying to raise my hand for the longest while.
Yes. Can I please? Thank you so very much, Dr. Forrest.
Yeah, you can just call me Clive.
Oh, Clive, yes.
Clive is fine.
That's easier. This has been a good discussion on a very, very complicated and complex individual who has layers that even at this time we need to pull apart. He was, of course, declared Jamaica's first national hero. And it was not so much, I think, for what he did for Jamaica, but for what he did to advance Black consciousness on a global scale. And so there are still issues with Garvey, but the one that I want to point out here, since I have you here, and this year we celebrate Jamaica 60. And one of the legacy projects from Jamaica 60 is trying to get Marcus Garvey pardoned by the US president from that conviction that you spoke about, mail fraud in 1923. We need to collect 100,000 signatures by the end of February. We still have a couple of days to do that. So this is an appeal to all persons online here who have not yet done so to visit the website. I'm so sorry I don't have the information here with me. And to sign the petition. There's a petition, there's an online petition going. I have visited the website. It takes less than 90 seconds to go find it, do what you need to do, and to send it off. So this is where I want to contribute. We are highlighting Marcus Garvey here. We're highlighting him in Jamaica as a legacy project, and we're appealing for support to sign that online petition. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, man. That's going to be important. So Erin, I know Erin has a question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, I just
Rosanna.
wanted to respond to you, Dr. Clive, because as you spoke, I just finished
Yeah.
reading the two books, the two sequel to Shoot Hard Labor, which was written by somebody who was in slavery. And one of the things that I learned that Marcus Garvey did go to Antigua to help them organize at one point. And you described him because he's described as this dark, short man, but really charismatic. And he left Antigua on the die boat. They smuggled him out on the die boat. I think people were after him. I don't know if it was from Jamaica, but it's one of the things that I just learned a couple of weeks ago after reading this book, that he did go to help the slaves organize, or not the slaves, it's mainly the people who wanted to form a union. It didn't work out. And
for working class.
Yeah, he left on the die boat. This is what it was described in this document.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
thanks a lot. I didn't know that.
He came to Montreal also, because I've seen full photograph of him, and
he did.
he certainly came to Montreal, and
Toronto, I think, as well.
there are people whom I know who met him. I met his son, as a matter of fact. I have a photograph with his son, and he's come back to the UNIA building in Montreal. So there are people who know him and have met him and have certainly dialogued with him when he first came to Montreal.
Thanks for that, Erin.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your
I want to make a point before
presentation.
Sorry, Nigel. I think Rosanna will had her hand up. So Nigel, but after Rosanna, we're going to come to you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Can I speak?
No, Rosanna.
Rosanna? Yeah, Rosanna?
Yeah, Rosanna had her hand up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clive, for the presentation. I just want to ask this one small question. I know that he had that desire for repatriation, but do you know if he ever had a chance to visit Africa at all? Did he ever get a chance to visit Africa?
I don't know, right? Somebody could check that right now, just to verify. So the Black Star Line operated in between Africa and this part of the world, North America, the Caribbean, and they would transport textiles between the two places and other kind of goods. But whether or not he actually made it there himself, I don't know, right? That would have certainly been his mission to go there, set up a kind of station there, where it would be easy for members of the Caribbean who wanted to go to eventually go. But well, just to say that with the coming of Rastafari, because as I say, his philosophies influenced the Rastafari. When Emperor Haile Selassie visited Jamaica, he had a closed door meeting with the Rastafari in Jamaica. And he said to them, well, listen, I'm not no God. And it's important that you build Jamaica before you start to think about building anywhere else. But he offered the Rastafari in Jamaica a plot of land in Shashamane, Ethiopia, where any Rastafarian person who wants to could go and actually live there in Africa. So he actually facilitated the repatriation that Rastafari via Marcus Garvey wanted to achieve so much. And you actually have Jamaicans who are living there now in Shashamane in Ethiopia, right? So it's a small community, Jamaicans and Ethiopians living side by side. So at least his idea of repatriation never totally died. And we could go on and on about Marcus Garvey. I'm surprised they haven't done like a modern movie of Marcus Garvey showing his assassination attempt. This guy burst into the building, fired 2 shots at him, and it is like the power of Marcus Garvey diverted the bullet into his foot. just like how we have a myth that Nanny of the Maroons, another national hero in Jamaica, could catch bullet with her bottom. The British should fire her, should bounce the bullet away with her bottom. So this man is like a mythological character if you bring in that dimension, his assassination attempts, and the fact that the government was hounding him all the time. It would be an intriguing movie, good for Netflix.
Definitely.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And you're right. There's all this ideology about Dr. Garvey. Actually, I checked it, and I haven't found anywhere that he has been to Africa. I haven't found that.
Sharon, I have to leave now. Is there another question?
Yeah, Nigel had one
Nigel
question.
Nigel had you have to unmute.
Yeah, go ahead, Nigel.
Question was really was asked by Roseanne. Have you ever been back to Africa? And that was the question I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So it was answered. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say before you go,
okay.
I just want to say, Dr. Clive, that throughout the Caribbean, Marcus Garvey played a role in helping to get the Blacks to be aware of their position. He traveled to Barbados. I'm not sure how he got there, but of course, in those days, it seemed to me that travel by ships were more frequent than now. People used to move forward, but he did inspire people like Dr. Walter Rodney. I feel Dr. Walter Rodney in his book called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa made mention that there were tensions between he and the same fellow, De Boer. But he did inspire a great generation in the early 20s after the Depression in the USA. And he did highlight the fact that there need to be more people aware of Black people, especially. I think the question of going back to Africa, it was most of the guys in those days, those persons who were forerunners of the Black Power movement, felt that they were the only salvation for the Black man was to go back to Africa, that they could not see, they could not envision 1920 that they would have any freedom to vote, freedom to move around, freedom to own wealth, and so on. So he was still ahead of his time. And I pointed out early today, when you look at even in Canada, the Black race is only about 3% of the entire population. We have to be able to unite in order to put up a front. And I think that was the time in those days where they could not challenge the status quo. And he felt that Blacks had very little say. Even to today, we still have very little. But of course, we learn to live in a multicultural society. This is what we have achieved over time. But he could not envisage a multicultural society in which Black people were living among whites. And as you said, he saw that the whites, the Ku Klux Klan, living by themselves in a white racial society, and the Blacks living among themselves. So that's where he saw, and he felt people. There are people in that era who felt that the only salvation was for Blacks to go back home. Even before his time, Blacks started to look at Liberia and so on to go back to Africa. And I want to say, like High Commissioner Miller, we support the argument that he should be liberated because he was incarcerated in the United States for not any crime, really. And I would appeal also with High Commissioner Miller for all of us to sign and to get our people to sign this petition so that we can have racial harmony across the Black world. But I support that, and I think that he has a place in history. Marcus Garvey has a great place in history, and he has inspired a whole generation to become independent throughout the Caribbean. In the 1920s, those persons coming back from London felt that there must be a social world. There must be socialism, so that he really did a lot of work, the introductory work to the Black Power movement, and he inspired people like Walter Rodney, who were the Marxists, that this was the only way for the Blacks.
Thank you very much. So, thank you for inviting me, folks. Unfortunately, I had to dip out a bit early. I am impressed that there's still, 96 persons here. I don't know how you guys do it. I keep telling Mark and Sharon, I don't know how you manage to keep your group so engaged. Whenever we keep something at the university and 30 people show up, we're like, oh my goodness, so many people came. And you guys have 100 people, you're still in folk active now. I don't know how you do it. You have to tell us the secret. But thank you very much for the invitation. Hope to see you guys in the summer. Hopefully COVID won't resurrect or anything like that. I'm looking forward to passing through in the summer because even though I live in Kitchener, I'm also a member of the Jamaica Association of Montreal.
We look forward to seeing you in summer, whether here in Montreal or in Kitchener.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah, man.
Take care,
Thanks.
folks. Enjoy the rest of the
Take care.
night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Sharon, and just a quick side note, quick read that Marcus Garvey never visited, that the European didn't want to allow him to go to those colonies to kind of influence them. So that's what I just read.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. It's fantastic. Cynthia, the floor is yours.
So we are going to circle back to Vanessa Sandy from Grenada. Vanessa, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you guys hear me?
I am going to find you. Yes, here we are. We're going to spotlight you. And the floor is yours.
Yeah, wonderful to have you.
Thank you. Start.
So today I'm going to talk about Matthew Gary. He was Grenada's first prime minister. Sir Eric Matthew Gary is one of the most important figures in Grenada's modern history. He is known as the father of independence because he helped Grenada attain its independence from Britain in 1974. He was named a national hero in February 2008. So Eric Gary was a visionary. He was able to envision ideas and bring them to life, ideas that others thought were impossible. He was a great and strategic negotiator who was able to successfully bargain to get the best results for both sides. He was attuned to the plight of Grenada's working class, yet he had the ability to lobby, to reach across the aisle and parley with dignitaries, diplomats, and heads of state locally and internationally. Now, he was also a community organizer, a master at mobilizing people, and a man of action. One of his quotes was, "The things that appear impossible, we do them right away." And today, as we celebrate national heroes, his story is our history. So I'll give you a breakdown of some of the things he was able to accomplish for Grenada, and that will tell you why he is a national hero, because you're probably curious, why is he a national hero? What has he done? So in 1951, he moved back to Grenada from Aruba, and he saw the conditions that the working class were working under, people that were working on cocoa estates and nutmeg estates. And he got involved right away with trade unionism, something he started in Aruba working in the oil fields. So he encouraged the workers to strike. And the strike was very successful. It paralyzed the country. The people in charge, they had to take notice of what was happening. Initially, they locked him up, but when things were out of control, people were looting, and that's the working class, the less fortunate, the people that were considered to be at the bottom of the food chain, so to speak. So they were they had no choice to kind of do the strike to get a better quality of life for themselves and for their families. So when the government realized that the situation was out of control, they had to release him so he can come and talk to the people, and he was the one that got them to stop the violence and settle down. So that was a huge win for the working class of Grenada, and with that, he was able to establish a trade union It was called the Grenada Manual and Mental Workers Union, where he was able to bargain to get a 50% wage increase for people that work in the sugarcane industry, people that work on the plantation, people that worked at the factories, and he was able to gain a 20% wage increase for people that worked on the cocoa estate and nutmeg estate, because we know that Grenada was indeed like one of the leading producers and exporters of nutmeg. So he was able to do that through his trade union. He established himself as a real representative of the common man, of the people that didn't have a voice, the people that didn't have much power. He was able to really be their advocate, and that made him beloved by the people. They referred to him as Uncle Gary, and they were always ready to kind of work with him because they know that he had their best interests at heart. So with the success of that trade union, he was able to establish Grenada's first organized political party. It was called the Grenada United Labour Party, and he did that in the same year, 1951. So it just goes to show he's a man of his words, he's a man of action, and he saw the opportunity to kind of build on the trade union, and he, you know, came up with the party. And he also was a huge advocate for voting rights. Like back then, only people that owned property or people that were making very high income was able to vote. Like, you know, the majority of the population wasn't allowed to vote. So he made it possible for them to vote by Grenada obtaining universal adult suffrage in 1951. So because of that, the majority of people can go out and vote, and obviously they supported him, and he became the leader of Grenada. Like between 1961 and 1962, he was the head of government. Between 1967 and 1974, he was the premier of Grenada. So he really paved the way, and he did a lot to bring Grenada into what we know it today. Like many of us only think of Grenada's history starting in 1979 with the revolution and the overthrow of Eric Matthew Gary by Maurice Bishop. But if you really look back and do your research, you'll see that Eric Matthew Gary was the man that did the most for Grenada. He really is in a league of his own in that regard. So he came to Montreal in 1967. He witnessed Expo 67 here in Montreal, and he went back home and he wanted to implement that in Grenada as well. He didn't waste any time. He told the people on his cabinet what he envisioned. He wanted to bring an expo type event to Grenada, and they thought he was out of his mind. Like, are you kidding me? Grenada, you're gonna have an expo here in Grenada, you know? But he did it, he made it happen. And the grounds, the location is a place called True Blue in the south of the island. Now it's really developed and it's a huge tourist spot. There's many resorts and hotels there. But back then in '79, it was like kind of like swampland. So people couldn't imagine that he was gonna set up an expo exhibit there, but he did it. He built a dome and it was beautiful, and many countries from the Caribbean came to display their businesses and their wares at Expo 69, and that was a huge success. Like in my research, I even found articles online that was printed back then from Los Angeles, for example, talking about and promoting Grenada's Expo 69. So we can say that he was indeed a man that was ahead of his time. So Grenada gained independence officially in 1974. And again, it was Eric Matthew Gary that went to England, bargained with the Queen to get Grenada's independence. And a lot of the locals didn't believe it. They said, no, he didn't get the Queen. He didn't get her approval. She didn't sign the papers, but he came back, and indeed, Grenada had gained his independence, and he became Grenada's first prime minister. So he even helped establish Grenada School of Medicine. That's another big vision that he had, that people said it's impossible, but today the school has been operating for over 30 years. It's a huge success. People travel from Canada, from the States, from all over the world, as a matter of fact, to study at Grenada School of Medicine. And there's even a hall there that's named after him, because he was one of the, the person that initially helped bring that school to life. So his other contributions and accomplishments, he's a member of the Privy Council, and he was knighted by the Queen in 1977. So his rightful title is the Right Honorable Sir Eric Matthew Gary. He helped build schools and clinics in Grenada, giving people all over the island, in rural areas everywhere, access to education, access to clinics where they can take care of themselves and take care of their health. He was the one that had the idea for the international airport. I was watching a YouTube video as I was preparing for this, and one member of his cabinet was saying how one day, just out of the blue, he told them, "Oh, we're going on a trip," and they went to kind of scope the site and the grounds that would be Grenada's international airport as we know it today.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. That was such an informative and important conversation. I know you did a lot of research about Gary, and we appreciate all the work that you've done and in bringing his story to life and to all of us. So I'm sure there's a lot more that you can say, but so you had a lot of good information, and I see that people are commending you on the information that you've shared. So thank you so very much. I didn't get a chance to really introduce you, but I just want to say that you're a member of the Grenada Nationals Association of Montreal, that you are a proud mom and very patriotic Grenadian. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing the information that you gathered for us tonight. Thank you. Cynthia, the floor is yours.
Yes, I think Vanessa's having some technical difficulties, guys. Closing on my side of the screen. Oh, just dropped off.
There you go.
So thank you so much, Vanessa. And I don't know, I'm getting some static right now. I'm not sure.
Feedback, yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So next up is Mr. Critchlow, William Critchlow for Guyana.
William, you can unmute. Yes, there you go.
Yeah, and just before you start, we'll do your bio as well.
Yes, absolutely. So what we know about Mr. Critchlow is that he's been a treasurer of the Guyana Association and has been with, he's in his second term, or it's the second time, sorry, that he's been the treasurer, and he's occupied that role since 2007. So the floor is yours, Mr. Critchlow.
Thank you, Sharon. Our list of our list of heroes. We have broken our list into four sections. We have, of course, sorry, you can't see me because my my video is not working. We have the revolutions. We have Coffee in 1763. He is credited with the Barbados slave rebellion. And Kwamina, that was the Demerara slave rebellion in 1823. And then we had Damon. This was after the slavery was abolished. Damon was the guy that led a protest against the new system of apprenticeship. That was in 1834. He was hanged because of his role in that protest. Now, as far as I know, that is the very first demonstration I can remember of passive disobedience. If you check your history, you will see that he was one of the first persons that ever was involved in passive disobedience. Then for politics, we have Dr. Chedi Jagan. He was a politician who was the first elected chief minister in 1953. He later became the premier of British Guyana between 1961 and 1964. And all this was prior to independence. Then we have Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, another politician who, in the beginning, he was part of Dr. Jagan's party, but he led Guyana after he became the leader and premier of Guyana. He's the one that led Guyana to independence and brought it to its republic status. Then we have, next group, the cricketers. And I noticed we had a very interesting conversation when it was cricket time. And we have Lance Gibbs, Sir Clive Lloyd, and Shivnarayan Chandapal. Now, most of the West Indian players or West Indians would know about Lance Gibbs and Clive Lloyd because they all played cricket in the same era with Sir Garfield. We could have listed, and then we have the person that we chose to speak about tonight, Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow. He is notable as the founder of the modern trade union movement in Guyana.
With that, I'm going to unshare and I'm going to share.
Yeah, with that, we're going to have a little clip. So sorry, before you go there, Sharon, before you show the video, let me give some background on Mr. Critchlow. Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow was born in Georgetown, 18th of December, 1884. His father, James Nathaniel Critchlow, had emigrated from Barbados and was employed as a wharf foreman by the Booker Group of companies. His mother, Julia Elizabeth Critchlow, was born Daniels, and she was originally from the Escobar Coast. For those who know Guyana, it's a big place. We have Escobar, Demerara, and Berbice. So she is from the Escobar section. Young Critchlow attended Bedford Wesleyan Primary School, but left when he was 13 years old after his father died. He had reached up to just standard 4. I think that is equivalent to grade 5, grade 6 over here. He left to find a job in order to help maintain his home. While attending school, he had excelled in sports. He continued to do so well in sports as a young man. And he soon became a very popular sports figure. During the period 1905 to 1914, he was the country's middle distance athletic champion. He was also a good football player and cricketer. Soon after Critchlow left school, he worked as an apprentice at the Demara Foundry. And at the turn of the century, he obtained employment as a dock laborer on the waterfront. And due to his active representation of his fellow workers during the 1905 strike in Georgetown, his popularity grew. He continued to champion workers' rights and was always called upon to represent their case to employers in the years that followed. Now we can look at the clip and see what this man Critchlow did.
You know, William, if we may, because we're just running over time, what I can suggest is that I will send out the video to all participants so they will be able to view the video, because you've given a great descriptor of what he has also accomplished and about a bit about his life. Would that be okay with you?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No, it's a pity that, that we can't really see it, because I only gave you about him, but not his achievements.
Yes, absolutely. And this is what we wanted, and we will definitely send the video out to everyone so that they can also look at his achievements. Okay. Cynthia, the floor is yours. Actually, are there any questions? Cynthia.
Yeah, William, did you?
Yes, continue.
Are you open to any questions that we may have? We have Yvette, I believe that's coming up right now. Yvette?
No, there is show the video now for those who can see it now.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
With 5 minutes.
Are you seeing me?
Is everybody okay with seeing the video now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead and show the video. Please show the video.
Yeah, we need to show the video now for those who are able to see.
Yeah, go ahead and show the video.
I think that we should show the. I think we should. It's proper to show the video. I mean,
5 minutes.
we're running time, and if people dropped off, it's because they have something to do. But I think we should show the video.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I think so.
I will stop sharing and then I will reshare.
Okay.
I'll show the video. Okay. And is everybody seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I just want to make sure that you're hearing, that you can hear the sound also. One moment. Yeah, you can hear the sound. Oh, okay.
Is there sound? I don't hear you. Oh,
yeah, it comes in later. Yeah.
Housed in the compound of the Parliament Building, the Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow Monument is a tribute to the man that fought for the 8-hour workday. The year was 1838. British Guyana was changing. Slavery had been abolished, and a new wage-earning workforce was born. Fearful that freedom would challenge their social status and poison their source of wealth, the white planters flooded the work market with Portuguese, Indian, African, and Chinese workers. As time went on, this influx of labor kept wages down, and competition from European sugar beet dropped wages further. By the 1900s, the cost of living continued to rise, but the wages of urban and rural workers were ridiculously low, with the normal working day in Georgetown ranging from 10 to 10.5 hours. Spontaneous, scattered protests littered the colonial landscape, but resulted in little changes. In November 1905, Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow, a 21-year-old, largely unknown dock worker, organized a massive protest of waterfront workers. The protest spread to include various categories of urban workers and even rural workers from the sugar estates. The British Guyana strike. The Press Association is informed that the following telegram, dated 5th December, has been received by the West India Committee from the British Guyana Planters Association. Position most serious. Urge the government to order a warship to remain here. Strike spreading in the country. More force wanted. Although the protest failed, it planted the seeds of the trade union movement in British Guyana. These seeds would not flourish until after the outbreak of World War I in 1914, which worsened the condition of the working class in British Guyana. Strikes increased, and in 1917 an unsuccessful attempt was made to form a trade union in Barbados. In Georgetown, Critchlow led a major 13-day strike of waterfront workers in January 1917. The strike was a major success, spreading among urban workers and forcing employers to increase wages by 10% and reduce the normal working day to 9 hours. In December, further action led by Critchlow gained another 10% increase for some workers in Georgetown. These small victories didn't satisfy Critchlow, who had emerged as champion of the waterfront workers. He pressed on, and in 1918 presented a request to the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce for an 8-hour workday. Critchlow and the other signatories were told to withdraw the petition or lose their jobs. Buckling under pressure, the other workers obeyed, but Critchlow refused and was dismissed. His sacrifice earned him great respect among the workers, but made him feared by all Georgetown-based employers. Critchlow was blacklisted and could not secure a job anywhere in Georgetown. At the crossroads, Critchlow made the crucial decision to devote his time to organizing workers. This decision would greatly influence the history of Guyana, and in January 1919, Critchlow formed the British Guyana Labour Union, the first enduring trade union in the colony, cementing his place as the true father of the trade union movement. The Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow Monument was sculpted in bronze by Guyanese artist E.R. Burroughs, with assistance from Walter Milling and Andrew Wright. Mounted on a 6-foot 6-inch reinforced white concrete pedestal, the base of the statue has a marble plate with the inscription, Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow, father of the trade union movement in the Commonwealth of Nations, born 1884, died 1958. The inscribed Latin phrase, written by the ancient poet Horace, means a monument more lasting than bronze, and fittingly describes Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow's enduring legacy that lives on today. Next time you pass the Parliament building and see the statue, remember the bravery of a 21-year-old dock worker that influenced a new era in Guyana's history, improving our working conditions long after his passing.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add a few more things here? That Critchlow also, because of all his work in the avenue of labor.
Sorry. Sorry. No, sorry. There you go. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yes, he was also awarded the Medal of the Office of the British Empire, the OBE, by King George VI in 1951. And what the video did not tell us also that he, along with labor, he did lots of other things. He fought for he fought for people's livelihood. He was involved in spearheading a campaign for the reduction of rent in Georgetown, because during the war era, when cost of living was very high, he kind of got involved in having a rent reduction for all the people in Georgetown. That to the extent that in 1922, the committees that he represented designated the 3rd of July in 1922 as Critchlow Day. We also have to make mention that right now in Guyana, we have the Critchlow Labor College, which initially was there to educate workers in labor. It has now moved on, is having other academic programs that you can go there as a prerequisite to enter the university. When he founded the first labor union, it was not the first in the Caribbean, but it was the first registered in the entire Caribbean. And the union that he formed, the headquarters of that union was named the Critchlow House. So we still have a lot of influence of him around Georgetown and in Guyana.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, William. I mean, there was, initially a little bit about Critchlow, but he did so much, and he's influenced the people of Guyana immensely.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So
Cynthia.
I have a question.
We'll just take one question so we can move on to the next country and one more presenter.
Cynthia and Sharon, let's be cognizant to do not take time away from other people, because Jamaica had a long presentation. So don't let us short circuit the other association. If the time ran out, then it means then we would deal with that. But do not short circuit the other organization to make the presentation. It is not fair. One other thing that I would want to ask Critchlow, if he has any connection to the Critchlow that he just spoke of. And secondly, since that Critchlow originally came from Barbados, what is the link of the Critchlows? Because we have plenty of Critchlows in Barbados. So is there any link with the Critchlows in Barbados along with yourself as a long relative down the line of Critchlow?
Now, why did I anticipate that question? In the beginning, I did say that Critchlow came from Barbados. So, we have our common thing there. Yes, he came from Barbados and resided in Guyana. History says that his wife came from Essequibo. Now, I am from Essequibo. So there is a connection. And what was the other part of the question?
Nigel? No, you're on mute, Nigel.
Their connection to your roots as Critchlow as well. Is there any relationship down the line of Nathaniel Critchlow and your bloodline?
It's not something I really looked into, really. But I know since there is an Essequibo link, and I'm from there, there is a connection. There's some down the way, but in those days, when these young men used to have children, different places. So I am part of that link of one of the extra women that Crystal went out with.
Thank you, sir.
What an admission.
Thank you. Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Before you go,
Oh, we have.
I want
Go
to
ahead,
take
Lever.
this opportunity to thank William for doing it, and I willfully wanted him to do it because I am convinced his ancestors. What he didn't also tell you that he also attended Critchlow College.
Well, yes, sorry, that I forgot. As a matter of fact, when I left Guyana to come here, I was the treasurer of the Critchlow Labour College Students' Council. I attended that college when I was in Guyana. I was part of the trade union movement since then.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's good to put that question to rest because I think many of us were asking ourselves the same question. Are they related? And with that, brings us to our last speaker, but not our least. I was to say for the presentations, we do have Francine Harris, who will be speaking right after our, not here, Jamaica, but the representative for St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes.
And Jack dear, are you on? I did see you. I need to spotlight you. Here you are. I did see you to spotlight. There you go.
Mr. Deere, you have the floor.
All right. I can assure you, I will be very brief. Now, our national hero is the one and only Joseph Chatoyer. He is the lone national hero of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He was the Carib chief who led a revolt against the British colonial government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 1795. He was killed that year at Dorsetshire Hill, and his tomb is located in Kingston in the St. George's Cathedral, right under the chandelier. He was declared a national hero in 2011. And since then, no other hero has that designation due to lack of a consensus by the political leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Deere.
I would not want to go into all the Carib wars and the 1,000 Caribs were abandoned on the island of Baliso, and they later formed the Garifuna community in Honduras. So in Honduras, Belize at least, he is also a national hero. All right. And they have a very vibrant association in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deere. Any questions about Joseph Chatoyer and perhaps the Garifuna and the and Belize, as he relates to Belize and the other islands mentioned?
Yes, I'm usually mouthy, but I was more listening this evening, which is rare. I wanted to remind Nigel, if you're still there, when he was talking about Sir Garfield Sobers, he also, by the way how he walked onto the field, he had a style of walking onto the field and putting his colors up. He always put his colors up. If the colors were down, he had the stiff collar, and he would always walk onto the field, swinging his back, and he had to have this sophisticated walk about him, and he would put his colors up. And from the time he started doing that, it became a fashion statement in Barbados. Everybody, all the guys wanted to walk with their collars up, like Gary Sobers. That was one thing he forgot to mention. He left a fashion statement.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mandarin.
Thank you.
You want me on?
And I'm just gonna move mute.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Deere? Any comments for Mr. Deere?
Okay. Jack, I was wondering how come they didn't make you one of the heroes after
He's on mute right now.
Can you hear me, Jack?
You're on mute, Mr. Deere. You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
I'm gonna ask to unmute. I press the button.
Okay.
There you go.
Can
Well,
you
let
hear
me
me,
hear you
Jack?
now.
No, I was asking you how come they didn't make you a hero too? Because you are so well known all over the place. I'm surprised.
You are
I'm surprised
normally
they
not
make you a
honored in
hero.
your own. A prophet is not honored in his own country.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Because
Okay.
you did so much, and I'm sure you did a lot in St. Vincent, and you came here, and you know you did so much here too for the St. Vincent Association.
You see,
you made sure that they were if there was any problems with St. Vincent, you made sure you ship barrels and everything to them, and make sure you do fundraising, and you did so much for your country. At least you deserve a half a hero.
You see, the point is that some of the political factions, they want one prime minister and the other one figure, no, another prime minister should be before him. So they can't come to any agreement. So only one national hero we have.
Yeah. You
We
see,
have other
politics
people.
always get in the way, you see?
Yeah, and they have a
in the
lot
way.
of other people who can qualify. We had Alfie Roberts, he played on the West Indies side, cricket side. Talking about cricket, I didn't hear the Guyana delegation mention anything about Rohan Kanai.
That's true, in Guyana, that's right, Rohan Kanai, yes.
That's true. Cricket is the theme of the day. Cricket is the theme. But you know
Kanai
what?
was not
I realized that there is one more presentation, and this is from Ms. Francine Harris, who is, so I take it that there are no questions, other comments for Jack Deere, but we really do want to get to Francine Harris.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Deere. Thank you very
Jack.
much.
Thank you
so much. Thank you. So we do have Francine Harris, who represents the Dominica Convent Alumni Association. She's the president of that group in Ontario. And during her 50 years of work experience, Francine held a variety of positions: auditor, accounting manager, risk and insurance manager, assistant director, educator. All positions that led her expertise in strategic management and administrative thinking. After retiring from the business and government sectors, Francine graduated from the Ontario Institute of Studies in Education at the University of Toronto, and then worked for 11 years for the Toronto District School Board before retiring again. So Francine keeps active, volunteering her time as the president of her alma mater, volunteering at a primary school in her spare time. She enjoys playing classical piano and producing stimulating arts and crafts. Francine is in the Sports Hall of Fame in her home country. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to spotlight Francine. Francine, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, here you are. Thank you so much. Here we go. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Cynthia. Good evening. I thank the Caribbean Coalition Network of Montreal for inviting me to give a brief bio on one hero from my country. Earlier today, you heard of two political heroes, from Dominica, Rosie Douglas and Dame Eugenia Charles. And they were both powerful political figures and prime ministers of Dominica. My hero is in the field of culture, Mabel Alice Cordero. Mabel Cordero, better known as Sissy Cordero, is indeed one of the notable national heroes of Dominica. Her focus was on the traditional culture of Dominica. She took it out of a pigeonhole category and illuminated it to its rightful position, to its height, the true culture of the nation, the true culture of Dominica. Culture, after all, is a definition of a people, our way of life, our language, our thoughts, our movement. And all of this documented in her songs, her plays, and her articles. She taught thousands of young Dominicans of all walks of life, all economic levels, to be proud of the traditional culture, which indeed defines us. I was one of the young girls who she taught to wear our traditional attire with dignity, to sing Creole songs and perform the traditional dances. We were also very proud of ourselves. Oh yes, it was in 1965, she organized the first Dominica National Day celebration with the support of Prime Minister Edward LeBlanc. And you know, it was pure traditional culture. Mrs. Cordero developed the Kyrie Artistic Troupe, the first of its kind in Dominica. She wrote and directed plays, composed songs accompanied by original lyrics. She was indeed a folklorist using the art form for cultural activism to bring the truth of our country right through the nation, regardless of what anyone thought. She was a faithful fighter. Nothing could stop Mabel Alice Cordero. Yes, and when she sang the piece, Muese o Matador, that brought everyone to their feet. It was kudos from her audience, who so respected her and admired her for her determination and resilience in fostering what she knew was the true definition of the Dominican culture. For a people without the truth of their culture is indeed a people without any roots. And a people without roots, In 1968, Mrs. Cordero journeyed on to her spiritual life. Thank you, Mrs. Mabel Sissy Cordero. We walk on your shoulders. Indeed, it takes a village to raise a child, and you figure powerfully in that change and in that village of Dominica. I want to thank everyone for listening to the brief bio of Mabel Sissy Cordero. Thanks a lot. Good night.
Thank you so much. You know, Cynthia, I saw the passion in Francine when she read about her hero. It was evident. She's impacted you in a very strong way. And although in 1968 is when she left and went into her spiritual life, she still has a strong impact. And this is the power of the energy that we have inside of us. This is the power that we have to inspire. And this is the power that Mariah sang about, Rihanna sang about, the hero within, and that we all have that ability to inspire those that come after us. And it's wonderful to hear the stories and the impressions that one has left on those behind us.
Yes.
Or left here today, I should say. That's what I have to say. Cynthia, I see that Caitlin.
Caitlin is up. Yeah.
Hi, Francine. On the
Hi,
note
Cynthia.
of on the note of culture, it's just to let everybody know this is why Dominicans, St. Lucians, Martinique, and Guadeloupe are stuck to their national wear. And it's something that you get called on if you don't wear it. It's something that's worn with pride. And we all have maybe 6 or 7 of them for different occasions. Like Francine is wearing the formal hat, and each hat means something. But again, thank you, Ms. Cordera. I've heard about her when I was a child. And yes, it's continued, and the national wear is a must. Like, people live it. You know, when I come to Toronto for National Day, the whole bloody place is national wear of all kinds, you know, and it's continued, and we appreciate it. Francine, thank you for attending. Thank you for accepting. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thanks for inviting me.
Not a problem at all.
I found it extremely interesting. I'm very glad. Yes, and I see you left me for the last, but we can wait for the best for the last.
Great. And in June, I certainly hope we have the alumni's, I certainly hope the alumni's invitation or party or brunch will be on.
Okay.
And I will book my train to come down.
Thanks. We look forward to seeing you.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Thank you. You know, Cynthia, when we planned this event, we thought, you know, there's so much to say. I mean, we thought we had a limited time. We were going to do this over 2 hours, right? And with Nigel, and we sat down and said, yeah, it's going to, you know, but what we found was the richness in the culture and the contributions of so many within the Caribbean. And I think the idea of sharing their contributions and spending time to spending time to understand is so vital. Yes. Especially at this time in Black History Month. But I know that you have a few things that you want to say about the rest of a short amount of time.
Yeah, so we have, our presentations are now done, but we do have a few more things that we wanted to cover with everybody. So hopefully you're able to stay with us. And as we do have this recorded as well. So just in case you are not able to stay with us, we do understand that, you know, it has gone over a little bit of time, but we appreciate everyone for staying with us. But we're going to continue on so we can get some people through. And like I said, we finished the presentations, and thank you all to all the presenters for all the knowledge and history that you gave to all of us. And I learned a lot over the past few hours of just listening to all the countries. It's been amazing. And like Sharon said, I think we're going to have another presentation or another event just about cricket. Because that is resounding throughout all most of the presentations that we heard today. So that is something that we're definitely probably will consider for our next event. So with that, we just have a few honorable mentions that we wanted to talk about to close out this evening. And we wanted to just talk about Barbados as a republic. As you know, we just turned up to be a republic last year, and we just wanted to bring on Nigel to talk a little bit about turning into a republic.
Thank you, Cynthia. I didn't expect this, but I always prepare because I was a scout and also a mason.
I saw that, Nigel. I saw that, Nigel.
I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity, because we know that in Republic is another level of freedom and independence. We go through that process of emancipation, independence, but the final leg is Republic, which we now totally in charge of our destiny, and we cut ties with our oppressors and over the colonialism of Britain. We know that it's going to be a challenge and is a part of learning. We know we had Guyana, Trinidad, Dominican Republic. Those were ahead of us in being republic, but Barbados now is the first leg. And as I said, there are going to be a lot of challenges, but we are all prepared because
that's the process. And once you develop and accept that you are a republic, then everything changed along of cutting away from the colonialism and Britain. But on the other hand, we have a lot to thank Britain for, even though they oppress us and the rape us of all of our resources. It only means then that they also give us a very good base of education that now we have to able to change our thinking on our history and our geography, because they never taught us our history. And now, knowing that Barbados become a republic, we're going to be rewriting the whole history of Barbados going back from slavery. And we will not mention anything with Nelson or Britain. So I know that there's a committee that is formed with the University of the West Indies, where they're going to be rewriting the whole history of Barbados. And we will be dropping all of the British and the colony history that did not service any. Look, we know that over the years, we haven't taught anything about our heroes. We talk about Lord Nelson and all of these things that did not benefit us. So we know that it's a whole new chapter, and it's going to be a learning process. There's some growing pains that we have to live with, but we're on the right road. And because of Barbados taking the step to republicanism, now we know a lot of the Caribbean islands now. Jamaica's 60th anniversary. They just moved a resolution to Parliament to look into republic. You know that St. Lucia is talking about it, St. Vincent. So all of a sudden now the Caribbean islands now are thinking along that line to cut ties with the monarchy, because they actually did us wrong. But it only means then that is a step in another chapter, and we do appreciate the support from the other Caribbean islands. And thank you for that acknowledgement, Cynthia and Sharon, because it's still a learning process that we are going through of being a republic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nigel. Yes, we know that you are always prepared. So that's why we can call on you so readily.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up,
I sort of expected Nigel to say something there. They couldn't leave you out on that. But it is refreshing to see that Barbados has become a republic. And it takes me back because of my involvement when Guyana was independent in 1966. I was there and deeply involved. But 4 years after that, in 1970, then 23rd of February, we became a republic. That's 52 years ago.
Oh, it's amazing.
Broke away from the British, and like the Privy Council is no place for appeal and so on. We take charge of that. All this was done during the boredom time. 1966, we got independence, and 1970, we became a republic. And welcome Barbados. One of my favorite places, because I was reliably informed that my grandmother came from Barbados, and she was a pile and supposed to be a sort of mulatto or something that came down to Guyana, and she met this policeman and got married. Jamaica, congratulate you. You are, what should I say, our elder brothers and our elder sister. I stand corrected that you have been independent a long time, and keep leading the way. And I can see the Caribbean in future time can all be separate republics.
I just want to make a comment, Sharon. The different types of republic. I mean, you know that Guyana and Trinidad has a type of republic. We have a parliamentary republic, is not the same as Guyana and Trinidad. Their president is being elected, our president is being appointed. And we have the parliamentary system of republicanism. Now, it only means then that it's all the same freedom, but the difference is the parliamentary. So we do not call ourselves the Republic of Barbados. We don't use that at all because we're still in the parliamentary system of republicanism. So our president is being appointed. Guyana and Trinidad presidents being elected. So it's a different system, but it's all within the freedom and the cut from Britain. That's the bottom line.
Taking control.
Yes, thank you.
We also have Caitlin's mentioning that Dominica is also a republic, so we don't want to leave them out as well.
But it's not Dominica, Dominion Republic. Dominica is not a republic. Dominion Republic, Dominion, which is also a part of, but is just next to Haiti. But Dominica is not a republic. It's the two different. So the French side and the Spanish side of Haiti, which is all the same continent. You got Haiti on one side and the Dominican Republic is on the other side.
Oh,
Nigel.
Nigel.
No,
you got it wrong, Nigel.
Dominica, no. Dominion Republic is not Dominica, it's Dominion Republic. There's two differences.
No, Nigel.
not Dominion.
Nigel.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Nigel.
Yes, I'm listening.
Dominica is a republic. That not the republic attached to Haiti, Hispaniola. We're not talking about that. Where I'm from and where Francine's from and where Justice Irving's from. That's what we're talking about.
The island of Dominica.
Yeah.
On November 3rd, 1978.
Yes.
We have another presentation to do on what are republics?
Only 3 of us are republic, you're number 4.
Yeah, so
I just want to comment, Nigel. Dominica is a republic within the Commonwealth, within the British Commonwealth. They have a similar system to Barbados, where there are, as you say, a parliamentary republic, but of course, they're still within the Commonwealth, where the Queen is still head of the Commonwealth. So Dominica is different from Guyana. Guyana has where the president is elected, and they have a different system of government. One is there we should look at the various governmental system, because Dominic, I think it is Guyana we have first past the poll system. Our voting system is a bit different. They have a system in which they share the part of the vote. You see, so it's a different constitutional system in Guyana, whereas we have first past the poll in Barbados.
Don't get confused, because Guyana is still a member of the Commonwealth.
Yes, but you have a different. Hold a
minute. Guyana belongs to the Commonwealth Club.
Right.
And the Queen is still the head of the Commonwealth for Guyana, but she does not control Guyana politically, only for the Commonwealth Association.
Right.
All right, so don't get mixed up with that.
But 1 second, just for clarification. Just for clarification. If it means then that Dominica is a republic, it never stays. So they still have the Queen as the head of state?
Yes, they still have head of state. The Queen is it's a
like
different
Canada.
system.
Like Canada.
Canada is our republic, so don't
But
worry.
different systems of.
No,
there's
it
different
has
system
the
of
Queen
republic.
as the head of state.
Exactly.
But it's not a republic.
But Canada is not a republic.
Republicanism.
We have found our next discussion.
Thank you. So I will apologize then to Caitlin and the Dominicans, but one of the things that I now learned
that when we speak of republic, then we have to very distinct because the Queen is still the head of state in Dominica.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Barbados
So,
too.
republicism
No,
of
the
that.
Queen is not head of state in
We are
Barbados.
Not the Queen. The Queen is not the head of state no more.
No,
But of
not
course,
in
the president
Barbados.
is.
No,
The president is right now.
No.
You know what? You know what? I would
Head of
like.
the Commonwealth.
The Queen is head. The
Well,
head
I
of
think
the Commonwealth.
Okay,
Head of the Commonwealth.
I think
No,
that
we
we
have to
should have a
take note.
discussion. I think we should have a discussion on that so we could all
Absolutely.
understand
Yes,
each
let's have
other's
a discussion.
meaning
Nigel?
or understanding of what republicanism is.
Right.
And,
But the head of state.
Nigel?
I'm ready to go.
Nigel, the next
Right?
time you, Nigel, the next time you're invited to one of our events, you will not have any callaloo soup.
Yeah.
All right.
Which
Let
you
us
love,
know.
which you like a lot. No callaloo soup for you.
Whoa, that's punishment there, Ken.
Yes, you see, he's holding his head.
I'll take this.
That is cruel and
Thank you very much, Nigel.
This meeting is
Thanks
being
for everything.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Let me
I'm
know.
starving.
Let me know when your next discussion is. I'll come through.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
We will.
Okay.
Hi, Nigel. Take care and all the best to you
Sharon,
guys.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Nigel,
Next time,
We still
the
have,
next time you need 3 hours.
we still have a few more components to our schedule.
Okay.
And we still have.
Nigel, you were saying
I'm
something?
getting hungry, people.
I'm
yeah,
starving.
this is long. Let's get it
in
over
2
there.
minutes. In 2 minutes, we'll be done. In 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we wanted to acknowledge, and we have Mark Henry here, our president of the Jamaica Association of Montreal, and to acknowledge, I mean, I know that, Mark, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to take the time on behalf of the Jamaica Association of Montreal, and I believe if the coalition would allow me to speak on behalf of the coalition, to congratulate the new president of Barbados House, Cynthia Waite. Congratulations. And all the other board members. I see that the former president is going to stay on as treasurer to so kind of help with the transition. Good luck, Cynthia. Want to let you know the Jamaica Association definitely be looking forward to working with you and the entire board. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of the coalition also. So congratulations again. And we look forward to continued success both as at Barbados House and within the coalition. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. And Mark, also, we wanted to ask if you can just talk about a little bit about the 60th anniversary and the things that we are doing at the association.
Yeah, well, this year is the 60th year, obviously, anniversary of Jamaica's independence, and hopefully one day we will become a republic. We get a part of that republic conversation. There's several things slated for celebration. Include we started off yesterday with a reggae symposium, which was a history of reggae, and coming down we'll have some special events. You guys will hear about it for the our independence sometime in August. So lots planned. Look out for it. I hope you'll celebrate with us. 6-year anniversary of independence of Jamaica. Hopefully we'll all get a chance to share in that celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Cynthia.
Good night, everybody.
Well, this concludes, well, thank you very much, Mark, for the nice words, and we are definitely looking forward as a team to move forward and work with the coalition and come up with some great events such as this one that happened this evening. So I thank you so much for that. And with that, I think we are about to conclude this evening's event. And once again, thank you to all the speakers and everyone who participated in this event. It's just been fantastic to hear about our history as a Caribbean and how great we are. It's amazing. So we have to have a lot of pride in who we are and where we come from. So thank you so much for that. And we do have one little video that was presented to us by Nicole, which is an outstanding video that will basically summarize this whole event for this evening.
Yes.
You need 3 hours the next time.
Yes, we do, actually. We do. And so let me just cue up that video, but in the meantime, I echo everything that Cynthia has said regarding everyone being here tonight and the enthusiasm that we felt and the lessons that we learned. I learned a lot about the Caribbean and the work that so many have put in to make the countries what they are today. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for being a part of the Black History Month celebration. We were at 100 most of the event, and we're still at about 59 here. So with that, I would like to share with you Laura Lisa's song called Hero. And here we go. We're going to just cue that up. Enjoy.
If things ever get rough, then don't you give up. There's a hero inside of you. If you look deep inside, I'm sure you will find the hero that lies in you. You're a hero. Strong like a lion, full of strength to carry on. You're a hero. You're a survivor, don't give up so easy now. One step forward, no looking back. Every stumbling block, you're tackling that. Face the storm with resilience, and with your brilliance, you will conquer all. Every time you fall, you rise up standing tall. Gotta give it your all. If things ever get rough, then don't you give up. There's a hero inside of you. If you look deep inside, I'm sure you the hero that lies in you. You're a hero. Strong like a lion, full of strength to carry on. You're a hero. You're a survivor, don't give up so easy now. Never be afraid to be bold. Your conscience clear, cause your heart's made of gold, yeah. Don't you believe the lies that you were told. Just trust in the Father, watch things unfold for you. In everything you do, to yourself you must stay true. Cause you were born to be great. If things ever get rough, then don't you give up. There's a hero inside of you. If you look deep inside, I'm sure you will find the hero that lies in you. You're a hero. Strong like a lion, full of strength to carry on. You're a hero. You're a survivor, don't give up so easy now. Keep your hopes and dreams alive. Don't you ever lose a try. Show them that you're great. If things ever get rough, don't you give up. There's a hero inside of you. If you look deep inside, I'm sure you will find the hero that lies in you. You're a hero. Strong like a lion, full of strength to carry on. You're a hero. You're a survivor, don't give up so easy now.
Wonderful. Fantastic. So everyone, you are a hero, and keep that inside of you. We are a proud people, a proud nation, a proud Caribbean. We are one Caribbean, and you see that happening tonight. So thank you once again for your attention, your participation, and we hope that we have enlightened you, and we hope that we have inspired you, and we hope to see you at our next event.
It's there for the next event. Could we make it the attendance more than 100?
Yes, yes.
That was not fair. Seven countries and only 100 people. No.
No, she's right, because a couple of people text me, they were trying to get on and the limit was 100.
Yeah.
Yes, what happened is that we do have an account, our account was unlimited, so I'm not sure what happened with that.
Okay.
So definitely I'll be looking into that after this event.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I must say good night all the way from Antigua and Barbuda.
Oh, hi, hi, Catherine.
My family.
Kathleen.
Thank you
Hi,
so much.
family,
I
family.
recognize your voice.
Before you go, Cynthia.
That's my
and-
mom, Sharon.
can I just say
Hi,
something?
Kathleen.
Yeah.
Because,
Hi.
can I just say something before we leave?
Right.
In that, unfortunately, as I mentioned, that we have to get someone to do the vote of thanks.
Oh.
And I see, because we gotta get someone to thank Sharon and Cynthia. No, they can't thank themselves. And I thought that when we put the program together, we would have asked someone to give a vote of thanks, because, and Cynthia, you know, Caitlin is very capable, and we are gonna ask Caitlin to do the vote of thanks, to thank Cynthia and Sharon for doing so much a fantastic job. So Caitlin, will you go ahead and thank
You're doing a good
Is
job.
this all because of the crab callaloo soup?
Gonna get back into your good grace.
I already claimed that. I already claimed
Yes,
that.
yes.
There's no going back from that.
Well, on behalf of the Caribbean Coalition of Islands and our participation, we truly want to thank Sharon and Cynthia for their undivided time to put this program together. This program for Black History Month, and as well as what they put together for Emancipation in August. It's just timeless, but it was done, and it was done very well. And we want to thank you very much for everything.
Are you not going to thank me also?
Thank you to Nigel.
No, Nigel.
Can I also just
soup
mention
for you,
one thing?
Nigel. No soup for you.
No crab
No
callaloo
soup
soup.
for you.
Oh, no.
Can I also mention, we also had Chris Bennett, who is our vice president.
Oh, yes, the
Montreal
crew, yeah, the
Barbados House.
technician.
Yes.
He was a technician.
He was behind the scenes helping us. And
Yes,
Chris,
yes.
thank you so much for all your help, as usual, stepping in at the 11th hour. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Beautiful.
Thanks to both of you again. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. And don't forget to put on the next agenda that we have to discuss this Republic thing. Okay,
And cricket.
if I'm gonna get my
cricket.
if I'm gonna get my jerk chicken and my callaloo soup, I have to agree with.
No, you have to get flying fish.
Good night, guys.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say that it's my first time online with the Black Coalition, and I'm a part of the organization of the Jamaican Association. My name is Roger Elton, so I'm one of the directors. I'm glad to join you guys aboard, and I listened to you guys, everything what you guys said, very interested. So
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
But, before you go, Caitlin, and just
No
not I'm
soup,
picking
Nigel.
on
I don't know where you're going. I don't know where you're going with it. You're not getting any soup. You're done. You're done.
Okay, I'm done. So
Yes, Nigel.
But
Nigel will be in your bag.
but I know that I will have to speak to Ray then about Caitlin.
You see, he's going to my Bajan husband. You see how the Bajans stick together? You see that?
I see that.
Okay.
He's going
Alright,
below
thank
the
you,
belt
bye.
now, Kayla. He's going below the belt. Since
Okay,
we
bye.
let you in, and Nigel, since we let her into our country.
Excuse me. I want you to know that my grandfather was Cuthbert Yard, the superintendent of prisons, who left Barbados, came to Dominica to run the prisons, and met my grandmother, who was the cook for dignitaries.
Well, aren't you lucky?
There, lucky, very funny.
Was that in Jamaica?
It's really strange. There I go marrying a Bajan like this.
Yes, I'm telling you, you are so lucky. I'm telling you.
Are you Maitland from Jamaica?
Maitland? No, Dominica. No, Maitland is the Bajan name.